Oh, wow.
Mm.
I mean, you know, she's got red hair. I mean,
Yeah, aren't we all?
There you go.
Yabba dabba do.
Yeah, I nailed that. I was the Hulk when I was younger. I was a little bit in better shape. But that was...
Talking about carrots tonight, correct?
Yeah.
Characters, yeah.
I don't know, did you say characters or carrots? Because that's been a thing too.
Let's go back to carrots, please.
No, it's anything goes. We can't talk about carrots anymore. We have to talk about politics.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary last night called The 1%. And the guy that directed it was the grandson of the Johnson & Johnson family. And it was really good. It was, but oh man, I mean, half the people that he interviews in it and the things that he shows you, you just want to throw up. I mean, or you want to get the guillotine out, either one. I mean, these people they're sick. They're really sick. And it's interesting that this guy is kind of like, you know, he's woke to it. You know, I mean, it's interesting because it reminds me, here's my book again. It reminds me of the John Robbins, because this guy who wrote this was heir to the Baskin-Robbins fortune, right? Grew up with a damn ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in his backyard. But when he got older, he rebelled against the whole thing, didn't want it, became a vegan. And so this Johnson & Johnson kid, you know, here he is. He's heir to all this stuff, or one of the heirs, but he doesn't seem to really want it. And so, you know, he's talking to his family, filming things, and they really were angry. They didn't want him doing it. They were mad at him through the whole thing. It's kind of funny when you think about, a lot of people think that Warren Buffett is like this cool rich guy. He refused to be in the documentary. So his granddaughter said, I'll come be interviewed. So his granddaughter, you know, gave an interview for the thing. She doesn't want anything to do with the money. You know, the only thing that she took money from them for was for school, and she doesn't live like a millionaire. She has a real job nannying and, you know, just doing very basic stuff. And so when Warren Buffett found out that his granddaughter had appeared in this documentary, he wrote her this long letter and basically told her, you are no longer my granddaughter. I want nothing to do with you. Our relationship is over. You're dead to us. We'll never talk to you again.
Just because of the documentary?
That's a very shitty thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very
that
shitty
tells
thing.
you everything you need to know about people like that. You might think that they're charitable or cool, but they are not. They're not. And he goes to this meeting for elites, for billionaires. Mm-hmm. And it's the whole meeting is these wealth managers that are sitting around, and they give them all this book that says keeping it in the family. Basically, it's a book on how to keep all that money in the family and keep it from getting, you know, given away to some commoner. Yeah. And for up to 5 to 7 generations, right? You know, it's this whole planning thing, like we're not going to let that go anywhere. It's really sick. And so it's kind of funny how, you know, there's that idea in popular culture that, you know, it's people from like Appalachia or poor people that are inbred, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's rich people that are inbred. And that was part of it. Part of keeping the money in the family meant I'm going to marry my second cousin instead of marrying some random person and letting them get a piece of this money or wealth.
Snort knows this.
Hey,
it's on YouTube.
It is. That's where I saw it. It popped up and I said, well, I'll watch that. And it's damn good.
YouTube ain't up yet, Ebon.
What's the name? 1%?
It was called The 1%. You could type that in with Johnson & Johnson because the guy that made it was from that family. It's really good. It also, he goes to, I believe, to Chicago and some of the places where, you know, these really wealthy land developers are buying up, you know, government housing and project housing for the poor and turning them into these extremely, you know, expensive condominiums and things like that, just gentrifying the whole area. And there's this one guy that he talks to that's like, you know, the son or grandson of some damn billionaire. And I mean, it's like, These people's heads need to be chopped off. You listen to this guy talk and you just feel like gagging. I mean, he's literally saying, yeah, it's better that we come in here and sweep all these, rotten people out. It might be bad for them for a little while, but it's really for the best. It's like, these people are vile. They are sick. Anyway, it was a good documentary because it really makes you think, and it's fascinating to see, because the kid that makes it, he's talking about how his father used to be more interested, like he had made a film about apartheid when he was younger. And so he did have this interest in helping the community or helping the world in some way, or being aware of, the inequality, but he gave it up. It was like the family came down on him so hard that they beat him into shape to make him do right,
Conform.
And so it's like when he's talking to his son about the documentaries he's making, it's like he's almost taking out that on him, because you can tell he hates talking about money. He hates thinking about it because he had to be beaten up with it so much too. So there's this real sick thing, but it's that thing where you just can't understand it. It's like they're not happy people. They exist simply to just make and accumulate more wealth. And of course, that was the whole thing. The whole point of it is the inequality of wealth. And you've got this guy who, God, I can't remember his name, but he was basically employed by the government. And he's the one that created the whole trickle down theory, that if the rich get richer, then that'll make the poor people poor. But it's actually been the opposite. And what it all comes down to is these guys, they don't want to pay their employees properly. They don't want to, give them part of that wealth, and they don't want to make sure that they're really well taken care of and have health care and pay their fair share of taxes. That's really what it all comes down to. They're not taking that money and then giving it to someone to do right with. They're just hoarding it.
Yeah. So what's the psychology? Has anybody studied the psychosis?
The granddaughter of Warren Buffett talked a little bit about that. She said, you could tell she was really into like Buddhism and, Eastern thought. And she was talking about how holding on is all about fear that you won't have enough somehow for yourself. It's not an open energy where you allow things to, you don't let go. It's constantly this holding on because you're scared. You're scared of something. It's like, I won't have enough if I give this to you.
Like I would classify it somewhere between hoarding and addiction. You know what I mean? Like, because they exhibit a lot of the signs of addiction, but at the same time, like, that's hoarding. Lee Camp said it. If you had a million of anything, a billion of anything, you'd be a hoarder. If you had a billion shoes, you'd be considered a hoarder.
Right.
And so if you have $1 billion, how is that any different? You're just a hoarder.
Absolutely. But because they're wealthy, we give them a pass.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really see it. And it's funny how every once in a while you get a John Robbins, or you get, one of these kids. There was this grandson of the Oscar Mayer fortune that he interviewed that basically walked away from the whole thing. He was like, I don't want anything to do with it. He left and went and lived like a normal person. And once in a while, these people come up and be like, this is effed up. And I don't want anything to do with it because you're sick. And it's interesting how that can pop up. Where you can recognize that it's dysfunctional.
I try to have pity on them because that's like the only way really I feel like I could move forward with this, but like at the same time it's hard to have pity on somebody that is absolutely wrecking your life, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like I know like they have this illness, like it seems like an illness almost, that they feel like this overwhelming need to, even at the expense of their own children, to sacrifice their own young to get this wealth.
Oh yeah, they'll cut their kids right off. They'll cut them right off. They'll chop their kids right out of their life if they don't do what they want.
Well, I mean, they're ruining their future. They have no future. So what if they got $1 billion they're going to leave it to them? I mean, they're not going to have anywhere to spend it because the world's going to be wrecked.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That movie was such an eye opener. I'm glad you brought it up because, I mean, it really does. When you get a peek behind the curtain, it really is so gross to know that they're not some, insanely intelligent or like masterminds. They're just sick people with like this obsession of being rich and getting more wealth.
And most of the time, it's not like the people that are here now with that money in those empires. They're not the ones that actually did do the hard work of setting the business up and actually getting it going. Those are the people that sort of legitimately created the wealth, but then their kids take it over and they didn't do a damn thing to get it except be born. It really is royalty. This is our American royalty. That's what we have. These are our kings and queens. These are our people that go to these damn functions with their little fund manager that teach them how to never, ever, ever let that cash get out of their greedy, grubby little hands.
Yeah.
And they're all probably
what happens to kids like when you give them everything they want? I mean, just average, normal kids, our kids. You know, you give them everything they want without having to work for it. You get a spoiled, rotten kid. Now imagine that times 1 billion. That's what we're dealing with here. People that had to do nothing for everything.
Yeah, any psychologist will tell you that overindulging a child is a form of abuse. Simple as that. It is. It's abuse.
Hey guys, I want to talk about
two
topics.
Oh, hi, Shirley.
Hey, Shirley.
Hi, Shirley.
Hey.
I'm listening. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Did you guys hear today? There's 2 topics I want to talk about. The pharmaceutical company. You know those commercials?
Oh, yes.
You see what all they give you the side effects of the medicine, which is crazy. So now they want to take away the side effects now. Talking about, and the excuses, people are not really looking at it, and the commercials are too long. And then Barack Obama is overseas in Indonesia over the weekend, and he met with the South Korean president. Isn't he violating the Logan Act?
Triggered.
Wait, could you repeat the where you think that violation is?
He's a private citizen.
Right.
And I looked up the Logan Act.
All right.
So he's a private citizen. So what is he meeting with the South Korean president, talking to him about North Korea, what they're doing with North Korea? Trump is president.
Obama no longer holds office of any kind, so he really has no official capacity to be over there. Interesting.
Yeah, but he's allowed to speak to other sitting leaders, as long as he isn't trying to make policy. You know, I mean, he could be talking about.
I mean, exactly what he's doing.
He could be exploiting gas and oil somewhere, you know.
Talk about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren, for all we know.
I thought it was pretty bad when he upstaged. Well, he followed Trump over to Europe when Trump was in Europe at a NATO meeting, and he actually did a big speech, and it's almost. I don't know. Have you seen what his photographer's been doing? He's kind of trolling the. I mean, it's funny in a way. It's funny, but it's a little scary, I think, to be honest. I agree with you, Cheryl. I don't know what he's doing.
I think Trump doesn't have control of that White House.
They float that Logan Act out though all the time, and nobody ever gets convicted of it, because it's like one of those things that it's nobody gets convicted of it. So as many people as may have violated it, it's
just like Hillary didn't get convicted.
Yeah, except for it's even worse. It's like one of those rules that they don't even try to like make a head fake towards it, you know.
It's just there for show. It's a big facade.
Yeah, it's there to trot out, to throw out during election time or something, or or just to throw a little oxygen on a fire somewhere. It doesn't really do anything.
I just wish we could go down there in Washington with a hazmat team and just clean out down there. I really do.
Fly's ready to go.
I really do.
Yep.
Did anybody see the guy that's running against Paul Ryan? He got a great commercial.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot his name. I'm trying to remember.
Randy. I think it is
Randy Bright. Yeah. His commercial is really good. I hope he beat him.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know.
Normally,
They
the
do...
better the commercial is, the more they're trying to lie to you.
But this election fraud going on, we know what happened to Bernie in the primary. So, and now Maxine Waters got somebody that's primary at her now, so who knows what's going to happen.
Wow.
And Pelosi.
Yeah.
Stephen Daffy running against her.
Wow. Yeah, it's a big damn mess. And I mean, really, until you get the corruption and the money out of that stuff, there's not going to be a major change. There just won't be. It's just that it's locked down. They've got it where they want it. You know, and I mean, when you look at these stories about these billionaires and the way that they're just so locked in, I mean, and they are, you know, at one point I don't know if you heard me talking about it, Shirley. I watched a documentary called The 1%. That the grandson of the Johnson & Johnson company fortune actually made because he doesn't agree with the wage disparity that's going on. And so there were times when he was talking to his dad or talking to his family and they were so paranoid, like, turn that camera off and we don't like this. And he said, why are you so scared of it? If this is all transparent and you've got nothing to hide and you don't, you know, why are you scared of having people know the truth if it's really not that big of a deal? And the reason is because even though they're in that world, they still know what it looks like. They know. They know that it, you know, people see that, and it gets the same reaction Marie Antoinette got from the French. They can't. And it's like, you bastards, you bastards. It's like that's, you know, there's no way that people cannot see that and know what they're looking at. So yeah, they definitely, you know, it works in the dark. It works best in the dark, and they've enjoyed a pretty good period, a nice little fluke period, 100 years or more, so, you know, give or take, of general anonymity, of people not really being so aware of the scam. But now people are starting to get more and more aware of the scam, and it's building. You can't stop the snowball once it's going down the hill, and it's going to get momentum. It's going to get bigger. You know, as time goes by, that's what I really think. And you know, he even said that in the documentary. He's like, you know, this is what has made people revolt. This is what makes people revolt when they see this kind of thing, when they realize, you know, that it's that the statistic that keeps getting bounced around. It's just so horrific, is that you've got this little cabal of people that own more wealth than the bottom 90% of the country. That's freaky. That is so freaky to just take that in. It's almost hard to take in that percentage because it's so ungodly. It's like, what? How could that? I mean, you concentrate that much wealth into just a handful of people. That's wild.
That's what I love to tell people about that. Because, like, I mean, when you're sitting there and you can't afford your electric bill and you're hungry and you can't buy your kids Christmas presents and you can't do anything, you can't even afford to go to the grocery store because you don't have the gas to get there, let alone the money. I mean, that's enough to make people rise up. You know what I mean? That's enough for people to go out and they start looking for information and they start reading about this and saying, holy crap, it's all corrupt. It's every single ounce of it. Our election system, everything about this is just rotten to the core. And that's why I try to tell people, because that's what we're dealing with here. You know, that level of poverty.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, that to me, I always say that people are one meal away from revolution, because if they get hungry enough, they got no work. You know, people that have nothing to lose are the most dangerous. That's what, you know, Geronimo felt like. You know, he had nothing to lose. And so he was extremely dangerous to the American government because he had lost everything, you know, several times over. And when people get to that point, that's when they're just like, to hell with it. What have I got to lose? I'm going to go march. I'm going to go protest. I'm going to get in the street. But as long as they've got a little bit of comfort, they're going to cling and hold on to it. But if they don't have any comfort, if they're hungry, sick, and out of work, that's when they're going to come for you. You know, and they're really walking a fine line. But that's why we won't have honest elections until the money and the corruption are out of there, because until it's out of there, they're going to keep buying the candidates they want us to choose from. Always going to be it. They're just going to choose who they want you to pick from. So you really don't have a choice. You choose between their choices, and that's not a choice.
Kenyan
Yeah,
code.
because before Barack Obama left office, he had Homeland Security handle the election polls. Same Progressive did a video on that.
They definitely.
They should not be handling our elections.
They did some kind of security check.
Yeah, because other states was finding out that somebody was, Georgia, and I forgot other states said somebody was going into their polling systems trying to get something, and then the Department of Homeland Security admitted that they were doing it.
Wow.
They claimed that they ran some types of security checks, cyber security checks. And it showed up on the weblogs, you know, the IPs of government IPs from Homeland Security showed up in weblogs. That's for sure. On the wealth inequality, you know, a lot of people say the Occupy movement was a failure because it didn't have demands that were met, and for a lot of other reasons. But
yeah,
well,
I really
Obama crushed them.
Well, they were shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, Obama shut them down.
But I would say that it wasn't until Occupy that people were aware of the relative wealth of different layers of society and just how much of it was concentrated in such a small percentage. Then the 99% and 1% meme was pretty brilliant. And I think it, like a lot of people say, the one thing that Occupy did achieve is that it changed the national conversation.
Brought awareness.
I think that's true because, I don't know if you remember, but on MSNBC, shortly after, maybe it was like a year after Occupy, we read that they were actually told to just stop using that word inequality. But the genie was out of the bottle at that point, and Bernie really picked up quite a lot of the material from Occupy. So it really wasn't about just Bernie. It was Bernie, and frankly, it was every single protest that I've seen across the world. You know, the V masks show up. Some of the same chants show up. So I think that it was subtly more successful than people realize.
It started the conversation, I think.
And did anybody really have any sense of where they were in middle class, lower class? I mean, did anybody really know? It was just sort of I didn't know of any income cutoffs that could tell you where you were, and all the comparisons of, the Walton family owns has more wealth than, what is it? Some ridiculous percentage of the world. Anyway.
Yeah, they started the conversation. I think they planted some good seeds. They just weren't, they remind me of the Green Party. They weren't too organized. A lot of people infiltrated, and from what I could tell, they came in and caused, orchestrated a few violent events here and there. And the worst thing is after they left a civic center or some park, it was just trashed. that was the biggest. That's Fox News always like to show that, because that was pretty much it was like their signature of just leaving areas and they were just trashed.
Did anyone see the interview of Maria from Fox News? Maria, I can't pronounce her last name. She interviewed Podesta about this Russia connection. She killed him in that thing. She killed him. Yeah.
Did anybody see the video that I posted of Trump getting off of the plane at the tarmac?
Yes.
I mean,
senility kicked in.
That's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. That was nuts. That's definitely a sign of senility or something.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I'm not big on these terms. I know Rachel Maddow was against short terms for Congress and Senate. She thought, because she's part of the corporatist Dem movement and whatever else is out there regarding the two-party oligarchy. But she's against it, and that I really don't think you should have a guy that's, and I'm not putting down old people because I'm getting there myself. But once you hit a certain point where you're kind of just, if you're out jogging and lifting weights and surfing, I'm okay, But if you're, I don't know, like Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion, when I watch her,
something wrong with her. I think she's
fucking wacko. Yeah, she
is
nuts. She's on something. Like we always keep saying, we bring this up probably every night, is they've got to test these fucking people. They should give them a social, a mental, a physical, a drug. Just test them, man. Because I think I'd say the majority of them are just really messed up.
And Maxine Waters too.
Yeah, she's pretty messed up too.
Yeah, isn't she about 80?
Yeah, she's up there.
She's up there, yeah.
She used to be one of my favorite congresswomen because she really stood up for the people who were being foreclosed on. But in the last year or so, I don't know what happened to her. Real disappointment to me because I really did admire her.
Yeah. A lot of them recently have changed. It's just like I said, as soon as Hillary came into the picture, a lot of people just went to the dark side.
Wacko.
Yeah. It's like this vortex of evil. It's pretty bad.
Oh, did you hear that Congressman Scalise? He's back in ICU. He has an infection now.
Who, a congressman? Who?
The congressman that got shot weeks ago.
Scalise that was shot.
Oh.
Yeah, he's back in ICU now. I think he might have to get more surgery. He got an infection now.
Oh my God.
I hope he be okay. I'm not going to be like the Hillbot. Oh, well, he deserved what he got because I don't like his policy.
Yeah, you don't want to talk
about
about
like that. Yeah.
As much as as much as I despise and talk trash and kind of shit on a lot of our so-called supposed public servants, they're still Americans. They're still people in my country. And I don't want, anything horrible to happen to people, but some of them more recently have, just from my perspective, might need a little guillotine work. I don't know. It's kind of sad, but there's some pretty bad ones out there lately.
And how about that guy that walked up in New York and shot and killed that police officer? That was horrible.
I heard about that.
That was
across the river.
horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. At least they got him. So he ain't going to be around anymore.
Yeah, so I posted it a while back about guns. And I know you guys agree with this. First of all, as I remember creating it when that movie theater got hit up, is I think, for one, we should have your guns, you should be insured. You should have insurance on your guns. I think you should also have a doctor write you off as being sane enough to operate a gun. And then I'm not big on automatic. I'm not really. I don't have a big issue with semi-automatic. I just think, and I think you should be responsible for your guns, period, no matter what happens to the guns. For example, if I have a gun and somebody steals it out of my house because I leave it under my pillow or under my bed, or it's just accessible, and that person goes and kills somebody with it, I should be responsible because I didn't properly lock away my gun. I think, or it was stolen easily. Now, if it's shown that it was taken out of excessive force or stolen, then I would probably want to be, given a little leeway on that. But I think once you have something as powerful as 2.5 pounds of pressure that can kill somebody with a trigger, I think you should be fully responsible for that weapon. Whether it's a crossbow or, but then they say, well, you can kill somebody with a spoon. That's the big argument on the right, is you can kill somebody with a spoon. Yeah, but you better be freaking damn good with a spoon. You better be Bruce Lee with a spoon. Or IP Man. But guns are just guns were only created for one thing, is to kill. There's no other reason for that guy. Have you guys seen the video of? And I've seen this a few times on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, James.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, guns are made for a lot of different things. Most notably, they're used to kill, but they're also used for defense. People who don't know how to use a knife or a spoon to defend themselves, they're gonna need something. If you're gonna rely on the cops, what do you call the cops? Because they have a gun, they can use it. If you don't, it's basically you don't have a gun, you don't know how to have a way to defend yourself. When the time comes when you need help, you're gonna get someone who does have something like that, right? So that's the entire Second Amendment point. And I think anyone who doesn't want anyone to have that, but you're okay with not having it yourself, I think that's just a bad way to think about it. Because there's millions of people right now that have guns, and I would say maybe 50% of Americans own maybe 90% of the guns, but that's still 50% Americans. That's around 180 million people. There's 180 million people with guns that aren't having any problems. You're hearing a lot of these gun problems in very little instances, but it's not the #1 killer in America. What's the #1 killer in America? It's just vehicle accidents, right?
Yeah,
so, why not? That's just another point. Is look, yeah, there are problems. There's idiots with guns. There's idiots with cars. You're not going to stop it. But the fundamental difference is one takes you somewhere. One prevents you from getting killed by someone else who's going to attack you. And no one's out there attacking people with a gun and getting away with it, except maybe the Seth Rich murderer or anyone that
Can't believe I just laughed.
But
completely agree with you, Ebon.
Yeah, so I think the Second Amendment's working fine. There are definite problems. Whether limits should be upheld, it's definitely easy to make sure that just like like being able to drive a car, you're gonna have to have the same type of thing. You should have a license.
You need a license?
You should have a check. You should have a vision check. I mean, who wants a blind person to have a gun? Doesn't make sense. It's just like having a blind person having a car. So those types of arguments, yeah, I'm all for. But just the whole perception of everyone owning a gun and just they're there to kill people, I think that's just a bogus argument.
No, okay. So I'm not saying the reason why you have a gun is to kill a human being. I used to hunt. I know all about that. What I'm saying is I just think that there should be some control or some regulation on it in regards to people that own a gun. Like, for example, if you're a psychopath who's had a history of violence, you can still walk in, and you don't have a felony record, but you're still a nutcase, you can still walk in and buy an AR-15.
Yeah, and then they buy the AR-15 and they don't have a problem with it, so when do you take it away? Do you just prevent them from having it? I mean, we've got people right now that have those same issues that have AR-15s. So do you just take them away? They haven't done anything yet with them. So are you just saying that because they're mentally ill and they have an AR-15 and they shouldn't have that anymore, do you take away the guns that they currently have for it when they haven't done anything with them yet?
Most of the people I think that have done some pretty crazy things are pretty nuts.
Go ahead, Ariel.
I would just say, as an interjection about that, just a few thoughts. Yeah, a lot of places, sure, they don't do proper mental health background checks, etc. But a lot of the people that carry out crimes, especially either young people, poor people, they've either stolen the weapons, they've gotten it out of their daddy's stash. They didn't go buy it themselves a lot of the time. So it kind of, that's a hot issue for sure. But I think that, you know, for me, you know, I have guns personally. I have a BB gun that I use, and it's pretty powerful little air rifle. I kill squirrels around my
Oh my god.
I got one today. The flies were very happy.
Oh no.
The flies were woo. But you know, they're rats and they're annoying and they kill birds and they destroy property and they get around and they wreck the garden and so no, I'll take them out. I have no issue, and I've eaten the squirrels. I don't mind eating them squirrels. I wouldn't do it to a bunny, but a squirrel, ugh, they're yellow-fanged rat. When you see them up close, you don't feel bad anymore. You're like, ugh, never mind.
Speaking of which, like this morning, I actually had trouble sleeping. What you call it?
The squirrel make you feel better. It's just like, oh.
No. I actually saw a wild bunny rabbit, like a little small, adorable little bunny rabbit.
Yeah, but you know, at the same time, like I wouldn't begrudge somebody that wants to kill a rabbit to have a good meal. I mean, if you're, you know, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. You know, that's fine. I don't have an issue with people eating meat. It's just the way that we do it, industrialized. That's an issue. You know, that's the cruelty and the unhealthy conditions. But anyway, getting back to
we're not talking about that. We're talking about people that have guns,
right,
that kill people.
Yeah.
That walk into movie theaters, that walk into restaurants.
Right. But the thing is,
I'm not big on people having open carry.
And then a lot of times people that go in to purchase the gun maybe don't have a record. They've never done anything before, and then they buy it to go do something. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard because how do you differentiate between a person that has no record, maybe they've never been, you know, declared mentally deficient, they don't have a violent record, yet they go buy a gun and do something violent. How do you differentiate those people from the people that are completely normal like me that just wants to knock a squirrel out once in a while? You know, I mean, I have a 22. It's an old, you know, pistol of my mom's, and I keep it for self-defense. I keep it loaded. I keep it in a box. I don't have little children or people running around the house that I'm worried about getting a hold of it, you know. But the fact of the matter, I always get back to this, is that if you have a problem, if somebody's trying to break into your house, or, you know, they're not doing it for fun. They're not doing it because they like you. I hate to tell you, you know, they're not doing it because they want to do something fun.
They want to give you a hug.
No, they're not there to give you a gift or a hug. Of course, back in the old days, our house looked so rough. My mom said, you know, if somebody robbed our house, they'd probably leave something because they feel bad for us.
So how do we keep people from doing that?
Let's talk with Snork had his hand raised, and then Stevie, and then
go ahead.
Back to that.
I think we do need to put some responsibility on the manufacturers. They are currently untouchable. And I think they need to start with the manufacturers are responsible to sell them to someone who's responsible. And there needs to be a chain of responsibility. Until that foundation is set, I don't see anything that can be done.
Yeah. I have something to say about that, but go ahead, Stevie.
I mean, I think there's some just basic things that we can do to make sure that it's a little bit safer, you know, like the loopholes and stuff, like closing those up. But, I mean, the problem isn't necessarily the guns because, I mean, there's all kinds of things out there that we could use to kill people with. I mean, but why is it that in our society we have such a problem with people wanting to go out and kill massive amounts of people? You know, like, why is that? I mean, we don't see that in other places. And I know that, you know, other places don't have as many guns as we do and stuff. But, I mean, if you have a will to kill people, you'll find a way. I mean, you've seen that with, like, the incidences with, like, you know, the people using cars and stuff to kill people. So it's like, yeah, but why is it that they want to do this? Why is it that we have this epidemic? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a problem with our culture that we have like normalized violence so much. And maybe if we weren't in so many like wars over nothing, maybe if it wasn't so glamorized, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of different reasons, and, you know, having easy access to guns is probably one of them. But, like, I mean, this is a giant systemic problem with our culture.
I agree.
Like, blaming the manufacturer of a gun, I don't think makes sense. It's just like someone who kills a car and that car was like a Honda Civic, and you're just gonna blame Honda for making that car that ran over a person. I think that's probably the best analogy that I've heard, and I don't see how that makes sense.
I don't blame an event of a car owner. That's different. But if somebody sells a large number of weapons to a black market, that should be something that has a key. That's like, not the same as an accident.
So you're talking about like non-registered guns that they've manufactured selling on a black market. Yeah, I agree with that.
Or whatever. I believe that they have to have a responsible chain of ownership. So you can't sell to anyone. You know, if somebody has stolen the gun or used it in a way that's not prescribed by purchase, then that is different. But you just can't go out and broadly supply, you know, major weapons to unknown people at any cost you want.
But I mean, so a lot of firearms get stolen, and some people can say that they lost them, and I mean that just kind of breaks the entire thing. There's ways around it.
Right, but that's beyond the chain of the ownership. But a lot of guns right now are being sold to dealers who sell to shows and go anonymous, and those sales should be reported back to the manufacturer, and that manufacturer should make sure that either that stops or there's some way to prevent the continued sale to the vendors that supply to people that are using them wrongly.
I could agree with that.
Because some of these people that go in inner city neighborhoods that buy these guns, they go in there and sell them to them.
They're able to sell them at the gun shows. You guys have seen the videos, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a loophole.
Okay, so I guess we're looking for a solution. What's the solution?
My son went to a gun show and they did a background check. So it's up in Pennsylvania. They did do a background check on him before he got a gun.
Mm-hmm. Those background checks, they're required to be destroyed within 24 hours. Most of them can't get processed before they do any good.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the law was written in a way that, okay, here, you can have your background checks, but there can be no way that the background checks can be useful.
Yeah, if the background check isn't completed within a certain amount of time, they can go ahead and sell the gun.
Right, right. I would imagine it's probably a little bit different by state. I mean, I'm in Georgia, man. I mean, me having a small handgun and a BB gun is lightweight. down here.
Oh yeah, well, in Massachusetts, me having just a 9mm is like a heavyweight. They're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, same here in Jersey. Yeah.
And
My
it's like,
husband owned a 9mm.
I grew up in a house with guns. You know, me and my sister, 2 little girls, and I never felt unsafe. I never felt drawn to just go play around with my dad's guns. It's like that thought never would have crossed my mind. But I knew that they were there, and it actually made me feel better sometimes. There was actually a really hilarious time, a couple times, when somebody might come knocking on the door and I didn't know who was there, and I didn't have a hole or anything. I didn't have a way to see through to see who it was. I would just pick up the rifle. It wasn't loaded, you know, but I would just carry it to the door with me and be like, what you need?
I had to buy a
got my
holster
house
for somebody.
secured. I had my house secured. I got cameras, and I got that ring.com where you can see the people on video and answer who's at the door.
Yeah.
People like, you have your house on lockdown. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a real thing, and you know, it's one of those things. I mean, stuff does happen, and that's why, you know, if people get attacked and they don't have a gun, they're going to call the cops. Why? Because the cops have a gun, and they're going to bring the gun so that they can, you know. That's, you know, it's kind of the thing. I don't know. It's kind of like drugs. People that really want drugs are going to get a hold of them no matter what you do. It's like the same with guns. If they really want a gun, they'll find a way.
Yeah.
You know, they will find a way. Criminals will always find a way to get a hold of a gun if they really want it. It's just the way it is.
And most like bank robberies aren't armed robberies, because if you use even a fake gun, it's a felony. But you know what? You have a little note and you give it to a teller saying, "Hey, you're being robbed." They're gonna give you the money, but when you get caught, you're not gonna serve felony time because you're not threatening anyone. So, I mean, usually smart bank robbers, they don't even bring any weapons. They just do that.
How do they do it again? What do they do exactly?
They just have a slip of paper.
Say it slowly so we can write these down.
Yeah, I'm taking notes, right? I mean, I'm just curious.
You know, I view humans largely as dangerous primates, and so I don't necessarily think that it's paranoid to have a way to defend yourself. Most people aren't light and fluffy out there. You have to be aware. You do, and it doesn't mean you're paranoid, but you know, I'm careful. I am careful and cautious.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the people that have died. The people that are in the, you know, I mean, I'm trying. The only thing I could think of was what I thought of was insuring the gun. What do you think about insurance for guns?
I have no idea.
No, it doesn't make sense because it's just people who aren't doing anything wrong just get paid up. So this what Ariel's saying. So I buy insurance for my gun. Now I'm responsible. If something happens, I can, my insurance will take care of it or whatever. But the guy who steals my gun, the guy who steals my gun or breaks in, takes that on my vault or whatever.
Right.
You know what? One of the saddest days of my life is when my mom told me that she sold my grandfather's 410 shotgun.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was bad because we used to go shooting the crows.
Oh gosh! Crows are really smart too.
No, he wasn't trying to shoot the crows. It's just that at the avocado ranch, he was trying just to scare them away from the avocados.
Yeah,
so he used to shoot from the hip, and I used to shoot that gun all the time.
Yeah.
I actually had a Mossberg for about a month and a half from some guy I let me borrow it because we used to go shooting all the time. But I've shooting some big guns like a 300 mag, and used to go out 30-30s. 30-06, a Python, some guns we used to go out shooting with up in the hills here. But like I told you guys, I used to hunt in Alaska and Canada.
Yeah. Have you ever shot an old-fashioned ball musket where you have to tamp the powder down and the ball?
I would love to.
Nuts.
I would love
Those
to.
things are crazy.
I saw some.
Totally unreliable. Like they'll go off somewhere you didn't make.
But when they made the law, that's what the guns were like.
Yeah.
Well,
No, isn't that?
Yeah.
actually,
hold on a
a
second.
rifle,
I'm copying that. Hold on. You know.
a black powder rifle ain't bad. It's a black powder musket that isn't necessarily gonna hit whatever you're aiming at. But like black powder rifle, they shoot fine. It's just you have to learn to. If you're shooting flintlock, you have to learn to hold still after the click because it's gonna go flick, flash, boom, and you have to hold perfectly still during that second, that it takes for that reaction to happen.
I'd love to fire an M1 Garand, but I've fired a couple of World War II rifles, and man, they're heavy, but they're accurate.
Yeah.
If you could get your hands on an old 1903 A3 3006, that is, they're indestructible, and they shoot perfectly straight. They're a great rifle. But they're heavy motherfuckers. I mean, they're, it's all wood. I mean, it's meant to beat somebody with if you run out of bullets.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've shot M1 Garen. Yeah. And also,
I got you guys. I got you.
Carbine.
I shot off the side of the aircraft carrier, and I just remembered this. I shot about like 20 rounds of a 50 cal. It was crazy. Off the side of an aircraft carrier, and people could come up and do it, and they chose people that were in the department to shoot, and they chose me because I was just bigger. And I really wanted to shoot the fucking gun. I go, come on, man, I'll get you. Because I worked in, I worked in supply, and I worked in the mess deck, so I had connections. So I had my chief, a master chief. I told him, I said, you let me fire that gun, I'll get you a box of potato chips. Granny Goose potato chips. And I got him a box of Granny Goose potato chips. It was so cool. But that was nuts. And the tracer bullets are real. They're fire hot.
I don't feel like I need some kind of heavy artillery just for self-defense. You know what I mean? And I guess where a lot of people draw that line is you don't need to be selling semi-automatic weapons and things like that for that use.
Shotguns make big holes in things, and all you have to do is load them with birdshot.
I mean,
and inside a house, the full choke 12 gauge I have will shoot a really tight pattern inside of any stretch of a house.
I feel like
I don't live in a mansion.
The best way, I mean, I was thinking about it. All right, if you're going to kill the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time, how would you do it? For me, I think I would use chemical gas. It's easy to make. You can make it yourself. It's hard to have like any type of agency trace it. And all you have to do is fill up a room with a lot of people and cut off the air supply and let the gas propagate.
All right, wait a second. We're really starting to sound like a bunch of Republicans. I'm just letting you guys know.
You can get that from the USA.
Yeah. So, I feel like if you want to go out and kill people, there's
so many ways.
Yeah, there's so many ways. And you're going to do it regardless. And
whether some crazy was pissed off at his girlfriend and his job, he'll find a way. If it's not a gun, he'll find a way to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
But in this country, we have a lot of people that die from guns, though. That's the thing. We have domestic terrorism constantly. So
the chances you're going to die in a domestic terrorism event is probably one of the rarest things that'll happen for you to die. You're more likely to drown than die from a domestic terrorist attack.
Well, that's also the same argument that can be made of the absolute need to be armed inside your house. I mean, depending on what neighborhood you live in, if that is like not necessarily a given,
Right.
You know, that's ever going to happen in 6 lifetimes. And so, you know, there's counter arguments to everything, but I just think that it's long guns pretty much. I'm not much for semi-automatics just because I think they waste ammo.
The rifles are cool,
you know, but I don't think anybody needs to own a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
Right.
You know, for anything.
It's for squirrel hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like people that
away 2 miles away. I need to get that.
If you want to get the license to go to those shoots where they shoot 1,000 meters, yeah, I mean that's kind of, I could see where that's kind of a cool thing to do, but
you gotta be quiet to
I
hit
mean,
a squirrel. I'll tell you.
It's the kind of stuff that if you got to figure out the rotation of the Earth to fire a bullet, you know, you really shouldn't be firing it. It seems to me.
I mean, the neighborhood that I'm in, it's very unlikely that we have a violent crime occur. It is unlikely. It's just not a super, you know. But at the same time, we've had 2 cars vandalized, one stolen out of our driveway. So at the same time, it's like, you never know what can happen anywhere. It's just the way.
All right, so outside the country's take, Troxney, how's it over there in Norway with guns?
Yeah, exactly. I want to know.
To own a handgun in Norway, you have to, well, they're only used for competitions. So you have to be registered at a gun club and you have to be active. I think you have to attend like 2 or 3 sessions a month. And the police are the ones that will decide whether or not they see a need for you to have a handgun.
Don't you also have to be able to cross country ski?
So is there a lot of gun crime in Norway, even with that restriction?
Barely anything. And
the U.S. takes
gun crime, not crime, but people when they go hunting, they sometimes shoot people. You know, that happens.
What about, wasn't there like a big shooting? I'm not sure if it was Norway or if one of the other Scandinavian countries, but like they went into some camp and shot up like a whole bunch of kids and camp counselors and what?
Yeah, that was the Norwegian terrorist.
Oh my God.
He made a bomb out of I can't find the English word. Anyway, he made a bomb and put it next to a government building, and then he rowed a boat out to an island where the Labour Youth Party were in attendance, you know, having a meeting. And he just started shooting people. He had dressed up as a police officer. And he tricked everyone, brought them in. He said they had to go inside into the building. And then he started shooting when he had gathered them all together.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Was there strict gun laws at that time, or was it things got stricter?
Nothing has changed. It's the same.
So there really isn't any way to stop it, in your opinion? You think legislation to have prevented that?
Well, as you guys already said, people will find a way to kill if they want to. Yeah, he could have used gas, you know, just had a partner to, you know, lock them in and then put out some gas and exit when everyone is dead or something. And it, you know, people will find a way.
That's true. That's true. And, you know,
there's a difference with making it easy to find a way and making it more difficult to find that way.
Yeah, the philosophy here though is okay, you claim that you need guns for defense, but here it's the military and the police that are our defense. We don't really have anything else. And why should we need anything else if they do their job? Otherwise, we're just defending.
Hey,
we're defending.
Our cops and our military are awesome in the United States, so we'd be really safe if we relied on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they don't shoot us at all. They don't shoot us at all, and they don't shoot anybody else either.
But you're defending yourselves against each other. I mean.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's the sad part about it, I think. You know what, Joanne? Did you have anything you wanted to say about guns at all?
Not really. I've never owned one. My family never had one, and I don't feel like I've ever needed one. But at the same time, I'm reluctant. I had one situation in my life where I considered getting a gun and I would have gone for extensive training and things like that. But in the end, I decided not to.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I'm a little bit afraid of nobody having any arms in this country.
Well, the thing here is that, okay, it's not that easy to get a gun, so people just use knives instead. So, yeah. And people don't die that easily from knife wounds. So, in the end, it's better.
When I used to work in a salon years and years ago, and I was like the night manager, so I would close the place up, and I was there alone often at night, and so I would always carry mace, and I'd either have a sleeve dagger or I'd have a knife like in my shoe or my boot, and I felt all right with that. You know, that was enough for me to feel like if anybody messed with them, I could spray them or slice them, and yeah.
Yeah, and mace is
badass, Ariel.
It's really effective. Pepper spray, and
Yeah, I mean, to me,
the police use that a lot here.
Straight razor.
I never had to use it. That's the good thing. I never did have to use it. Thank God, right? You know, you have it, but you hope that you never have to use it. Same with martial arts training or anything. You know, when I used to do Aikido, they said, of course, you know, if you can run away from a fight, friggin' do it. Don't stand there and just take it. You know, that's the first line of defense. Get out of there if you feel something coming. And that's a big part, actually, of a lot of martial arts training is developing your sense of feeling when something's coming so that you can avoid, an attack or an encounter. So, yeah, I mean, it's just using your common sense as well, I think. But it's like, I kind of try to keep it in balance, where it's like I don't want to be totally paranoid and scared all the time, but I also don't want to be too trusting that nothing could ever happen to me, because it's kind of not realistic. It could. So
Are
it's
there any
kind of try to keep the balance of it.
But are there any statistics that show that people can significantly defend themselves with their weapons? I thought that the data showed the opposite.
Probably does, because a lot of people don't know how to use what they've got, and that's the biggest problem.
I've heard that whenever there is a gun present, you're less safe than if there wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was an incident, right, where somebody had a gun and he was trying to protect people, and it ended up shooting people that he was trying to protect.
Yeah. I mean, there's two ways. Like, for instance, James, do you think people who are ex-military, who are very well trained in guns, who have PTSD, should own a gun? Much less be a cop.
No. If somebody hit the shores and wanted to kill us, I want that guy on my team with a gun. But yeah, that's a tough one, man.
And yeah, being untrained is another part of the problem, or being unready. I mean, but it's also hard because, like, first
I think people should have training. I think people should have training.
Yeah, that should be it. Plus,
that should be
like,
law.
People keep
like you driving a car, like a license. You gotta have.
Yeah, people keep their guns used typically in a safe, away from family members and kids especially, and then
trigger locks.
And they have it on safety. They don't have a magazine in it, so by the time you get to your lock, open it, get the gun, you know, put your magazine in, set it for safety. Say basically you have to close all your doors when you know someone's breaking in, and then buy some time for that, and then you know and then knowing when to shoot is another part, right? Are you just gonna shoot whoever comes in? And it's not just training, because you can be really trained, but if you're not aware of what the situation is, you can make a mistake.
What's up with that in America? When you trespass, you're like allowed to kill them or something. It's
so every state.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, I mean, well, in my old neighborhood, there was a place. I remember it was a kid I used to babysit for, and someone broke into their house one night, and the husband was like an avid hunter. He was one of those deer head on the wall guys, and he shot the guys. He tried to come in the door, and he killed him straight up.
Well, it's a bit. I think it's a bit different if they break into your house or if they just trespass on your property.
Oh, that's different. If you're walking across your lawn, that's a different story.
It's
But no, he was really trying to break in. He was coming in the door.
It's different by state, and certain states that are a little bit more stricter on that. If they break in and you don't shoot them right away, you have to give them time to retreat. And if they don't retreat, you still can't shoot them. You have to call or something. And so you have to really feel threatened. If you don't feel threatened or no one's in immediate danger, you can't shoot them. So they can break into your house and just kind of roam around. And if you shoot them and there's any evidence, like you have cameras, and seeing that they weren't threatening you and you shoot them, you can be held liable. So they have some crazy, dumb laws out there. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand that part. Because, I mean, just imagine someone breaking in your house and then you tell them to get out, and then, like, they don't do anything. They just sit down, watch TV, you know, eat your food. And, like, you try, if you use force, you know you can't use force, like, the best thing you could do is just call police at that point.
Ebon, that's just a rude guest.
Hey, neighbor, I just wanted to have a glass of milk, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they could look through your house just trying to look for, like, money or jewelry or anything like that, and you can't really shoot them because they're not immediately threatening you. But the thing is, if you have no cameras and there's no evidence of like, you shooting them, you could go and shoot and get away with it.
Are you not allowed to, push them out, force them out?
Well, imagine. Oh, if you have a gun, most likely you don't. You're not that great at doing that. If they're like 250 pounds, muscular guy, are you gonna push them out? I don't think so. So
we've had some crazy.
Here in Philadelphia, the person breaks in, and you feel you're safe, you are in fear. You can shoot him, and you will not be charged.
It's different here in Massachusetts.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In Florida, they can have just a bag of Reese's Pieces, and it's threatening enough.
No, it's Skittles.
Skittles? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that I was just going to bring up Trayvon Martin, stand your ground. So Trayvon Martin, what do you guys think about the stand your ground? Because I think it's fucking stupid.
I think
that sucks.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
That's too much.
Yeah.
So you feel intimidated, and just because you feel intimidated,
right? You can use deadly force.
You get to. It's just makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
That's a terrible. And how many states are like that? Like 10, 6, 10? I don't know.
That was down in Florida, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And every one of those nuts knows I feared for my life. I feared they were reaching for my weapon. Every one of those guys that dreams about killing somebody knows the rap to put on the cops. So, I mean, as far as that's considered, that's why the idea of the castle doctrine's one thing. The idea of the stand your ground thing's a whole nother can of worms. But
Julie.
They use that term "fear of the black man," and it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. Even when I walk by a white woman, I'm African American. I walk by a white woman, she snatches and pull up a pocketbook, and I'm like, "Oh gosh."
Yeah.
I may have more money than what she has.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to do nothing to her. And then when I go in these Asian stores, they watching you like crazy. I just leave them. I can't patronize them.
Yeah. I watched a video today. Somebody posted on Twitter about how, like, little black girls in school are profiled far, far more than any other race, and how they're 5 times more likely to end up, you know, in the principal's office or being reprimanded or or, you know, getting detention or just whatever it is. They're always going to come down harder on them. And it's sick. And it's like, I don't even know if the people doing these things are cognizantly racist, or if it's just sort of like this, they're not even aware that they're doing it. You know, it's so like deep ingrained that it's like, if you question them, they probably wouldn't say, oh no, I'm not, you know, but that's what happens. And so it's almost like these kids get their childhood stolen. You know, they're kind of treated like an adult from the beginning.
But the times have changed so much. I never was called to the principal's office when I was going to school.
Yeah.
Never. It's changed.
I was thinking, imagine back in the 18th or 19th century, and you had a flintlock pistol, and that was used for home defense. Can you imagine how slow that would be? It's like, freeze!
Very slow. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Put the ball at him. Boom, boom, boom.
And so I don't think back then, when they thought of the Second Amendment, that it was for home defense. I mean, that's kind of what we use it mainly for now. But back then, it was more against, you know, rise up militia to fight against any type of...
It was against our own government.
Our own government or other governments.
Yeah, there was a crazy thing that happened, like, just maybe 3 or 4 minutes away from the house I live in now. I can't remember the year, but it was recent. It was relatively recent, where they were trying a homicide case in Atlanta, and the guy that was being convicted in the courtroom was able to get away from, you know, the cops and everything. He was able to get a hold of a gun, and he shot and killed the judge, shot a couple people in the courtroom and escaped. And he got into a car, and he got all the way down very close to where we live now, and he broke into a single woman's apartment and stayed there and holed up with her, you know, almost like, you know, she was sort of, I don't know, not ransom or anything. He just didn't really know what to do. And it got to be a story. Like, he ended up talking to her, and she had been on drugs, and she was in rehab and had gone through all this other stuff herself.
Was this years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that story.
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy. I mean, I know exactly where it happened.
They had video of him. They had video from cameras, kind of looking downward.
Oh yeah.
This guy and that guy, and then he takes off out that way.
It was kind of bittersweet though, because it was like, you know, he ended up talking to this lady who had been kind of a mess herself, you know, and had been in and out of, you know, problems and rehab, and was trying to get her life together. So I think in some ways it actually helped him, and she actually was able to convince him to turn himself back in, you know, and like they're still friends. It's wild. Yeah.
They still friends?
That is weird.
Yeah, because they kind of bonded. I mean, they were like hanging out in her place for a while, and for a while she was scared. She didn't know if he was going to kill her or what was going to happen, but you know, she just started kind of talking to him like a normal person. You know, it's like, Eric.
Okay, so how are we going to fix this, Evan?
Oh, I was actually going to say something.
Go ahead.
It reminds me of the Beavis and Butthead episode where there's like convicted killer that got loose, and plus, you know, Beavis and Butthead was, you know, doing the usual stupid stuff, and he kind of like, you know, and he thought, and they didn't even know that he was like a, you know, an actual killer, but
they were hanging out with him.
Yes, and pretty much, you know, the killer turned himself in. It just kind of reminded me of that in a sense.
Yeah.
He broke out of jail.
That's funny.
And he hung out with them, and he realized, oh, I'm going to go back to jail.
Yeah. That's funny.
So, is there think of any law that we could do? I mean, come on, we're genius here.
I don't think there is. I think the law, maybe enforcing certain laws to get rid of stolen guns or unmarked guns, unregistered guns. That might be a better step than regulating in some fashion of limiting the purchase of arms that are registered. And I think it's like, for example, I mean, just the ones that you kind of worry about are the guns that just kind of are sold in black market, right? The ones, people who most likely steal and want to get more and more money, that are desperate, are going to maybe look for guns eventually. But I mean, if they find guns, like say someone's like addicted to crack or heroin or something like that, and they're breaking into homes, if they find a gun, they're not going to use a gun to rob people. They're going to because they don't get caught. They actually sell the gun
to get more crack.
Yeah, to get more crack. And so, you know, you don't really have to worry too much about these crackheads stealing the guns and using them, but it's more of the people who are poor. They don't take crack. They just don't feel like there's a way out.
Yeah, or meth or whatever drugs.
And they'll most likely use a gun to try to rob a bank, or maybe they're crazy and they'll just shoot up people. You know, if they don't have any background history, they're going to just buy a gun anyway legally, because they know that it doesn't matter. They're probably going to end up killing themselves after they kill other people.
I like the training. I like the training and the licensing, or I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like to get your permit in Massachusetts even, and it's very strict state, is you just take a 1 hour class. How much training are you going to do in 1 hour? It's not that good of a training session.
There's no training in California.
Yeah, I guess an hour is better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, we got so many gun shops around here. I mean, you think it's the super liberal state, but I mean, every mile. I mean, just Google gun shop, and in California, they're like 2 miles away from each other everywhere.
I wouldn't expect it there as much.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're everywhere.
Washington State's the same way. It's pretty lax up there, and it's very liberal.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think of is, you know, there's probably a bit of that history in the West of, you know, pioneers and hunting, and, you know, probably a lot of it crops from that. And it's the same in the South, you know, and then you get that kind of thing, country people that want it for that reason. And it's also that old-timey Southern rebel thing, damn Yankees ain't gonna take our guns kind of deal. There's a lot of guys like that, for sure, you know.
I honestly believe that we can deter it at least a little bit by resolving the income inequality that we were talking about earlier.
That's,
A lot of it is, we're referencing people who are so desperate, they feel like they have no other means to resolve their issues.
Absolutely.
They turn to guns, they turn to stealing, they turn to, you know, even murdering somebody for money.
Yeah.
Or valuables, whatever, that they can later sell off, you know, whether it's for, you know, getting crack or, you know, whatever. A lot of it is, a lot of our problems in general really is stemming from this vast disparity in wealth between so much, where so few have so much, and so many have so little.
I agree.
Well, and get rid of the drug war.
Right.
Figure out a way to dispense all drugs legally, you know, however you do it, you know, and do it that way, because, you know, there's kids running around guns, got no damn reason to own that gun because I couldn't afford to buy that gun, you know. Yeah. But they got it through a deal off a guy that shot some dude with it, so he didn't want it no more. You know, it's all kinds of. So, you know, you could do a lot with the income inequality, and get rid of the black market and get rid of the money trading hands, and there'd be, you know, illegal money trading hands, because people don't shoot each other over liquor store to distributor disagreements, other than like in certain parts of New York City and stuff, but that's a whole nother issue. But you know, I mean, there's parts of Philly that you got to have the right permit to get everything done, you know. Right. But there's you know, I think that would take care of a lot of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, in the chat that gun violence
like
is
Hollywood
larger issues, which is very true. You know, it's all.
and like Hollywood, they got so many homeless people in Hollywood.
And you know why that is, Shirley. You know about
the housing crisis.
Well, it's the gentrification in LA. There's a really great documentary called Lost Angels. It's one of the best I've ever seen, and it's all about these land developers coming in and shutting down the projects and shutting down government housing for the poor, and just basically kicking them all out to go and nowhere. I mean, a lot of these people need to be in hospitals because they're mentally unwell. And so they kind of had this community, you know, in these government buildings, and then they kick them out further, and so they're homeless, and then the cops come and arrest them for being homeless. It's just vile. And so it's, you know, so these people, they grab up all that property and they turn it into these extremely expensive condominiums and things like that. And so it's a scourge.
That's what they doing in my mother-in-law's neighborhood in North Philly, Temple University. They taking up that neighborhood. You can't even almost recognize her neighborhood. It'd be an empty lot one day, and I'd be like a month later, damn, they got a new house up there already and got students in there. It's crazy.
Are they really? I haven't been up there lately. I didn't know they were doing that. That's a tough neighborhood. But they're
that is my mother-in-law. She complains about them students and stuff. Yeah, that gentrification is really going on there, and they redeveloping that Divine Lorraine Motel. I think maybe some people living in there already.
Probably.
I have a friend that, you know, she used to have a boyfriend up in Canada, and she told me that she would go up to Toronto and, you know, hang out there. And she said, you know, you'd see like these, you know, kind of like street kids, you know, doing little odd jobs and things like that. And she would ask, you know, well, what's the deal with these kids that are like doing these little jobs and things? And he said, oh, those are homeless people. And she said, but they're dressed better than I am. How are they homeless? And he said, well, there's government housing. You know, and so if you're mentally unwell and you don't have a family, you don't have anybody to take care of you, they'll make sure that you're not living on the street. You know, so you don't see people living on the street up there like you do down here because they make provision for that. And in a large society, you really have to, because you can't, you know, we're not living in fairy tale world where everybody has a loving family that's going to take care of them and make sure they have all their needs met. We don't have that. So you have to make provision for people that you know, can't either make a living because they, you know, have mental challenges or just whatever it is. You can't do that. And if people really want to get back on their feet, you can't leave them on the street, because the longer you're on the street, the longer, you know, the harder your chances of getting back out of there. It really is. There's a place in Oregon, Broken Carpenter may know of it, but it's called Sisters of the Road, and it's actually one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And what it is primarily a kitchen, and they cook, you know, inexpensive meals. And the way that it works, because there's a lot of homelessness in downtown Portland. When I was living there, I mean, you cannot go downtown and not get panhandled. It'll happen. And so what they do is you can go buy these coupons, and I kept those in my, you know, bag all the time, because so if somebody comes up to you, you can give them the coupon, and Sisters is, you know, it's right in the city center, which is really easy to get to, and it's good for a free meal. So instead of feeling like you're just handing them money and they might use it for drugs or alcohol or whatever, you're actually helping them get some food. And the other great thing about the place is that, you know, you either pay like $1 or $2 for a meal, or you can work in the kitchen for a little while and work for it. So it retains people's dignity. It's not, you know, treating them like a charity case or treating them like garbage. And it really is, it's funded by the community. I mean, people, they provide money, they, you know, donate services, they donate food, you know, large amounts of whatever, dried beans or whatever they need, you know, to create these meals every day. And they also, you know, carry toiletries. They carry things like toothpaste and diapers and, you know, shaving products, because that's what you need. You know, think about common sense. To be able to get to work, to be able to not feel all down in the dumps, is to have the ability to keep yourself clean, to keep yourself feeling good. and we just take people's dignity away in this country. As soon as they're homeless, we just don't look at them. It's like they're garbage, and that has to change. That has got to change.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Oh,
just I was just saying we have homeless here in Norway as well, despite that there is a law that the municipality has. Well, they're supposed to grant everybody a temporary place to live. So, despite that, there are still homeless people. But you know,
temporary what?
Temporary residence.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that's what anyway. There's no reason why anyone should be homeless here, but despite that, there still are.
There's still
They just don't want to deal with by choice. Yeah, they don't want to deal with all the, you know.
I think there's some that just don't want to participate in the way things currently are. Like they'll panhandle, they'll go out the streets, and they just want money that way. They don't want to make money for some corporations and etc. But then my logic is, so you want to not participate in the system, but have people who are participating in the system give you money. But that's a separate issue. The other thing is sometimes, you know, if they are mentally ill or maybe they're addicted to drugs, there are certain regulations where you might not be able to live in a certain area because you want to protect other people who aren't addicted to drugs or mentally ill. So sometimes they won't stop, or they won't have enough help in order to live in these certain areas that provide housing for them. So it's kind of mixed. It's like you want to help them, but sometimes you can't, or they refuse to, because I mean, trying to get away from addiction is really hard. And do they want to do that?
They're not doing it that well here in my town. Like there is one place where it's an apartment complex, and there are like maybe 60 apartments, and all of them are filled with drug addicts. And that's how my city has dealt with it so far, and you know, it's not working out very well. Breaking into each other's apartments, and you know, and you know, all of them get money from the state, or from
like
the.
What do you mean? Is that what you're talking about?
Like I feel like the
social services, you know.
Social services, exactly. Yeah.
Is to find them at least some type of purpose, even if it has to be some type of prison-like system, just to get them ordered up. I mean, but that's kind of like pushing it too far.
Yeah, I think the best way to deal with it is just to kidnap all of them, and then bring them out to a farm or something, and have them work for a while, get used to.
Not a bad idea.
But forcing people to do stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of into like tyrannical, whatever systems.
Yeah. You gotta know. Okay, so the homeless that have been homeless for so long, and if we've had homeless forever, and philanthropy is fantastic, and I like that there's clubs and facilities and groups and people that are doing that. But when it comes to who we vote for and who we put in office, who implement laws that do the right things, like providing guidance, providing work programs, providing drug treatment, psychological treatment, or the right things to keep these people, that some of them got abused and have just pretty much destroyed their minds. So they're just kind of like walking zombies. They're out there, and there has to be a place for that. But I think it does matter legislatively who we vote for. Our judiciaries, our legislators, our executives, to put out to create, like for example, universal basic income. they think that's going to help a lot of people in Hawaii. It's also going to, statistically from other studies of other cities that have tried it, it's lowered the crime rates.
But is it a federal problem or is it a state problem? A local state problem?
For
like, say, the homeless situation. I mean, should it be solved at the federal level or at the local or state level?
The what situation?
What we're talking about, the homeless situation.
So that's the thing. Should it be a federal, state, or city? I think it should be. I'm going to say federal.
Well, Well, a lot of this happened during urban renewal, which was a big Nixon thing, and we used to have watch Beretta. Beretta's living in some cheap hotel downtown New York. There used to be flop houses for people that they only needed a couple bucks and they got a place to sleep for the night, or they could keep up an apartment by the week or whatever. And so when they started tearing those down and building, new spaces, the new spaces were taken up by the gentrified, what Shirley was talking about, the gentrification of these areas. So, I mean, in many ways, what they did was shove those people outside, basically. And so, trying to figure out some sort of inexpensive, like micro housing or something for people. I always thought if you just built it's not
inexpensive housing.
Well, I think that there's no reason you can't take old shipping containers that are not roadworthy but are perfectly structurally fine, and using them. I mean, you can cut windows in and put electric in them. We've used them on job sites all over the place. So they just load them up on a truck like they do any regular container. But also you can, build micro housing for people and let them get on their feet, because a lot of these people too, we went through that when we went through the last bank crash. There were tent cities popping up of middle class people that were basically homeless and had no skills, no skills as far as living without a home. So it can strike higher than one would think, and it also can be fixed, I think, as far as addiction and mental health goes, we've got to get back to the idea of there are people that are addicted on the street that are a danger to themselves and others. I think that's a fair way to look at it. And so they should be put into a treatment system and not jail. I mean, because jail's you're never gonna have a jail be clean and
rehabilitate them.
Well, single
my
parent
thing
fix
is,
a lot of this.
we have a rehabilitation center here, and I'm gonna tell you this. It's several of them, and one I saw, I'm like, why would they put a rehabilitation next door to a liquor store?
Because you want to tempt them. If you could tempt them with the liquor store and they get away from it, I think they're good to go. I don't know.
You never know. I willingly walk through the door of a rehab, so I had to drive past plenty. I had to go past plenty of like, that was the thing. You get out of rehab and there's alcohol everywhere, and it's the same for drugs. For people that are hooked on drugs are still everywhere.
Alcohol is
they'll find, you find some.
It's legal.
Yeah, but I mean, anybody's drug of choice. If they want it, they'll find it. In the middle of the Sahara Desert, they'll find a place to cop whatever it is they want.
Yeah, the problem the problem I see is that despite people being granted a lot of options here in Norway, they still continue to abuse drugs because that's it becomes their meaning of life after a while. It's almost like a job, I guess.
Yeah, Joanne.
For them. So it's difficult to find a new path, and only a very few do. And often it's actually because of religion. At least it's been my experience with it. From the little I know, I'm an atheist, so yeah.
My story about my maternal grandmother is pretty rough. I never really got to know her very well. All my grandparents are dead. And all my grandparents were dead pretty much by the time I was 17, 18 years old. She was schizophrenic, and she had a lot of troubles. She was partly American Indian, and so when she would drink, and have alcohol, she would just go crazy and become very physically violent. And she would she would beat my mother just about senseless. She would just pick her up by her hair and just beat her head against the wall. This is the stuff my mom went through. Yeah, this was stuff my mom went through. Both my parents went through hell. And her father was also an alcoholic, but he was extremely moody and very broody, and he never was physically violent. But they would both drink, and her mother would attack her father, and it was just awful. And so one day, he would just have to hold on to her so she wouldn't hurt herself for him. And my mother's sister was, I believe, either autistic or Asperger's, because she was never diagnosed. Think about this is back in the 40s and 50s. But she's classic. I mean, she's just like, you see the movie Rain Man. It's like, I remember when that movie came out, and my sister was like, man, that's just like Aunt Joan. And it's like, yeah, she's exactly like that. So during one of these altercations, my mom's sister actually picked up a knife and stabbed her mom with it. She was only like about 10 or 11 years old, because they were having a fight and she had gotten violent. And so that's when family services came in and took all three of, my mom, her sister, and her brother out of the house, put them in separate foster homes, and that was that. It was very hard. And so this is a thing where you've got alcohol, which in my opinion is one of the most addictive drugs. It's legal and it's available. Anybody can get a hold of it. It does horrible things to families. But here was my grandmother, who was really mentally ill, and she needed real help, and she wasn't getting it. They were poor. I mean, they were not well off at all. And so, when she was older, she ended up spending a lot of time in, government mental health facilities, and she was extremely depressed. It was very hard for her. And I only got to hang out with my grandmother a few times as a kid. The last time I remember seeing her, I was probably about 12 or 13, and she was very calm. She was very kind. Didn't seem like there was a single thing wrong with her. But, it's like, it's a real issue, and it affects generations. I mean, my mom, she was never abusive to me, never an alcoholic, never had any of these same issues. Neither of us are schizophrenic, but I mean, it just hurts, because that these things are there. And you kind of, from that, it's like, I can kind of see it from a second or first person perspective, because there isn't enough available. There just isn't. And even, especially back then, we still don't understand schizophrenia. And it's one of the worst mental illnesses you could possibly have. It's the classic hearing voices in your head, seeing things, thinking the devil or God or someone is talking to you. It's awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It's miserable to be stuck with that. I actually have a astrology client who has schizophrenia, and it's very hard to manage. You have to be very conscious of the drugs you're taking, and the drugs that you have to take for it are harsh. They're harsh drugs, like lithium and stuff like that. They're not easy to take, because they can really kind of turn you into just an emotional zombie where you don't feel very much at all. And another thing with schizophrenia is you often, imagine you're having a relationship with a famous person, and you don't know them, and it's like that, but yet you still have it's these weird fixations that'll set up in your mind. There's all kinds of things. And so that is a disease that it can turn violent very easily, because it's the classic, like they call the paranoid schizophrenic, because you have that paranoia. A lot of times you think someone's after you or someone's going to come and get you, and often it's during a really bad episode where someone might either stab someone or hurt them because they're deep in it. So yeah, I absolutely agree. We do not know enough about mental illness. we're still only scratching the surface of really treating or healing or understanding where they come from in a lot of cases. Schizophrenia is a big one. And yeah, we don't have what people need. We just don't. We still don't have, you know, we're not putting people in cages like in the old-timey asylums and just locking them up like that, but we really don't. And we deal with it. As a society, we really don't want to deal with it. It's the truth. Yeah.
And that's what I see here too. Like with the drug addicts, they just give them an apartment, and they even give them the drugs. You know, the what's it called? You use it there as well.
Yeah. Or the other one, Thorazine, is something that used to be used.
Methadone, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
They give it that, and you know, they also give them the money they need for food and clothes and all that stuff.
It's actually funny. A lot of people comment on my hair because it's similar to Betty Page, but you know, in real life, she had late onset schizophrenia in her late 30s, 40s. And she actually ended up spending 10 years in a mental hospital because she nearly killed a woman in one of her schizophrenic episodes. It was a landlord, and she got in an altercation with her, and she stabbed her, and she nearly died. And so, yeah, they put her away for 10 years in a mental health, you know, place. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it's so widespread, but we don't know much about it at the same time. And we really don't make provision for people that need help. We just don't do it. And it's never really enough. You know, it's like my grandmother ended up in a facility, but she was so depressed. She was so unhappy. I mean, it was like she wasn't getting the emotional nurturing she needed, you know, in that system.
I think they drug them up when they go on them places.
Mm-hmm. That's true, too.
That's what makes them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just pray for my baby sister. I have a baby sister that's been out there drinking and drugging for years. And
why is it always the baby sister? I got the same thing with my little brother. Yeah.
And she always called me up. I'm calling to see how you doing. Know how you doing. I'm fine. She's staying in rooms and things like that. I really worry about when I hear about somebody, a woman body found somewhere, and I just be like, oh, please just don't let it be my sister.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. It's funny, my mom, she had a longtime friend up in Baltimore, Maryland, and this lady, she had 5 kids, and the youngest one was a boy. He ended up getting addicted to heroin. And just recently we found out that he died. And he had struggled with it for probably over 20 years, back and forth. He'd been in rehab, he'd been out of rehab, and then for years they didn't hear anything from him, and all of a sudden they find out, you know, that he actually had died from the heroin addiction. Almost my age. She was almost my age. She's about 38, 39. And, you know, it's just a huge problem. You know, that's part of the trouble of breaking addiction. And that was what I saw with him, is that, you know, he went to a rehab center down in Florida, right? Then he gets all cleaned up, comes back to Maryland, and as soon as he's back home, all his old buddies come around and he's right back in it. Because it's almost like you have to change your entire environment, routine, or you'll fall right back in it.
You have to change your whole thing. You can't go back to where you were at before.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's switch it up to less depressing topics, maybe.
I had a question for Trunksy. Is it still a required state religion in Norway?
No, it's nope. There's no state religion.
Okay.
Like Syria.
But there is a monarchy, right?
Yeah, it's monarchy. But they don't really do anything. Just well, they I guess they serve as hosts for most part when people come to visit.
It's more of a ceremonial role?
Yeah, pretty much. It's the same as, you know, how they do in England.
But in England, I'm not aware of how much their religion is mandated, but I know it has a lot of control over.
Well, actually, there is one interesting fact there. There is only the king. He is forced to be a Christian, and this came up like 4 years ago, I think. They wanted to edit the constitution and make it so that the king no longer needed to be a Christian. But the king, he said, nope, don't want you to change that, so they didn't.
Wow.
Snork.
I don't know. To me, that seems so weird. It's like you
Yeah.
can say,
The
I could say sure, and not be at all inside. How would you even know?
the whole but the whole nation is, nobody is required to be a Christian except one person. That's kind of funny.
That's very
I mean, it's just about public perception. I mean, I don't think when someone has to be a specific religion that they really believe in that religion. So it's interesting. All right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about, maybe two things, is the campaign to keep independent media independent. And Snork had an interesting idea using potatoes, carrots, and bunnies. And do you want to talk about that now, or do we want to do it offline, Snork?
No, we can bring it up now.
Okay.
Having read it, did it seem clear?
Kind of. Like, I don't know exactly what the carrots do, except being another form of a potato. And then,
that's correct. It's just a potato that's given out to everyone. Where potatoes have to be earned, a carrot can be given away.
I see. All right, so go ahead. Go ahead and give them your explanation, because I read it and I like it.
Well, I would like it to be a form of metered file sharing, where instead of just any kind of file, it could be specific to content. So when you join, you get a potato, and that means you're entitled to watch one clip, or maybe even 15 minutes of a clip. So, I mean, in order to get a second potato, you have to share that clip. So it doesn't reside on one server. So if one server gets throttled, the alternate servers will feed, which is closer to the original hot potato internet theory was supposed to operate, to prevent military transfers from going on, and being able to do transfers in the event that a message path was damaged. So so that's how a potato is created, and a potato is just your credit to that you either can watch or have allowed someone else to watch content. So after, if you want to watch it on a mobile device and you're in an area where you're tethered to Wi-Fi and content transfer is free, you could share extra potatoes to people. And then when you take your mobile unit to somewhere where you're on a metered system, such as limited download data size, you could spend your potatoes. And I called that brown banging it, like taking a lunch bag. Let's see, I suppose I should pull it up.
Is there a limit?
Well, I mean, you could stockpile as many potatoes as you want, but to get a potato, you have to share content. And we're not talking about illegal software. We're not talking about other things, just content. So the typical file sharing copyright issues like that aren't there, since we wouldn't be transferring copyrighted material, only original material. And
we're not doing any Napster stuff, is that right?
Yeah, not Napster stuff. Just this political content, or origin news that originated with us, programs.
Okay.
Like So,
you can even give him the Benjamin Franklin quote, or that maybe not, it wasn't a quote, but his general census on communication too, Snork.
well, I guess I should read what I originally sent. Saving the world with potatoes, carrots, and bunnies. Our country was designed to be well, here, let me lean forward in case you're having any kind of problems with hearing me.
I can hear you.
I just had some ice cream. I've had surgery, and when I eat ice cream, I have problems speaking. So,
tonsils.
Maintain our country was designed to be in a constant virtual revolution through voting, without violence, armies, crimes, and it was meant to be administered in a peaceful way. In order to maintain our constant revolution for improvement, Ben Franklin knew that one of the most important tools was communication, and put a lot of effort into libraries, schools, press, and mail as the bloodstream of knowledge necessary for our country to survive and prosper. You're correct in identifying that I was writing this to Ebon. So you're correct in identifying the control of the media and internet as a major roadblock to our democracy. I would like to propose a method to provide a service that could quickly replace YouTube and provide a mostly virtually served video exchange using potatoes, carrots, and bunnies with an Occupy-like mic check for distribution. And then here's the rules. When joining, everyone gets a potato equal to 15 minutes of video watching credit. If you share a video unit with someone else, you get a potato of credit. Bunnies are anonymous gifters who put out other carrots, or put carrots, which are equal basically to a potato, to entice others to join. Then potatoes may be grown by sharing potatoes to one or more person at a time, or later while your computer is idle. A bag of chips may be accumulated by sharing more potatoes while connected to inexpensive network ports, then later brown bagged for watching while connected to lower speed or expensive mobile connections where the download only service is preferable. While this may be rough at first, computers and connections keep getting faster and more stable. As it grows, it may quickly surpass YouTube, as the distributed sources will be difficult to throttle at regional ISPs. That's about as far as I got.
That's freaking amazing.
Holy shit, that is.
I like the potato chip part though. That's my favorite part.
So what's
no, it's just file sharing, and then you get rewarded for file share.
Yeah. And I was thinking of other things like dip.
Oh yeah, dip for sure. Like ranch dressing. I like dipping my carrots. Not lately. In ranch dressing.
What's for dessert?
So I'll probably like.
Well, the main thing is you have to have a server to level it out.
Yeah.
And you would need a metering server, which would be the heaviest load, and it would be a cost. So I would say dip is served to ads or whatever. There has to be some kind of monetization in there somewhere.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to that part yet. Once I do a lot more updates, so you kind of understand the entire thing a little bit better, because it's easier for me. Like, I could freeform it and talk about that whole idea, but I think getting it into written form where people can follow, especially the non-technical side, and then the technical side, kind of gets people a better idea of every product that I'm coming up with that's going to be released. So the first one is the independent news aggregator. So just like you have Google News, Bing News, Yahoo News, those are all aggregators getting content from different news media sources. And mostly that's like New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Fox. But if you go to Google News, like, do you ever see Tim Black's content, H.A. Goodman's content, Sarah up on the headlines, or Niko House, or Hard Bastard? No, you won't. So This is basically doing the same thing that they're doing, but getting RSS feeds, tapping into like video APIs or whatever, and grabbing, or for podcasts too, and just get them all out there. So when you log on, you see like today's headlines, you see today's topics, you see all the things that independent media is trying to get out there. And the problem that I have is who dictates who's an independent news media source. Like, we need a group of people that determines that, or is it people in general that are logged in, and or that kind of vote for it democratically, that's saying, hey, this person wants to be in this news aggregator as an independent news media. Do we allow that? Like, who deems, say, Jimmy Dore as an independent news media when he works for TYT, right? Who deems like say Alex Jones too as an independent news media when he's quite not really independent medium, or like Vice News, etc. Like, do we count Vice News as independent media even though they've got maybe a 5% stake of it is in Disney and 10% is in A&E, which is affiliated with Disney, which is like the
slippery slope.
Yeah. So like, how do we dictate that? So that's my problem, and the solution is who do we allow as the core of independent news media? But then what I'm gonna do is have a customization, so anyone who logs in, they could customize and add anyone that they follow into their own feed, but it won't show up for other people. That way, if they wanted to see anything that comes up, they can see it for them.
Hey guys, I'm getting ready to go.
All right, thank you, Shirley.
Bye, Shirley. You take care.
Have a
Have a
good
good
Bye-bye.
one.
All right.
You too.
Here.
You know, maybe you could have like a matrix, like a PowerPoint that each talking point or title of each person's video blog or video YouTube or whatever it is could link to each other. So like if you had somebody's talking about Trump getting off of a plane, and then Trump getting off a plane, and then Trump getting off a plane, that would be categorized over here, and then there would be an offshoot connected to, you know, still Trump, but Trump, you know, leaves Melania in the car again without opening the door, you know, still related to Trump, but it's just categorized so that
it's gonna have
follow those links.
Yeah, it's gonna have categories, so you can do
yeah.
it by that. So basically, it mimics a lot of the current news aggregators out there. So that's the idea. Of course,
I like it.
It's it's me doing this part-time alone, so that's gonna be another issue. But
James,
we have a lot of.
Have you seen your pineapple name sign from The Fly? It's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like the trigger sign
it's
as
freaking
well.
awesome. Dude, that's
I like
freaking
that.
amazing.
Do
I
you
know.
just print that fly, or do you
Oh, it's even
draw
got the
that?
guy on the beach there on the with the palm
Did you
tree.
draw that? Did he draw it?
I think it's. I don't know.
I draw the pictures, but I print the names.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I drew my
All right.
fly.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's a great fly.
That's awesome. Really well done. See, this was my trigger bunny, Eric. Trigger!
Trigger!
I actually drew the fly, but I couldn't. I messed up on the FLY.
That's great.
Yeah.
We got an art class
You
going
did
on
awesome.
here.
And I had triggered. Triggered.
Oh yeah,
Triggered.
that's a good one. Eric, I really last night I gotta thank you for all the laughs. All those CNN trigger posts were killing me last night. That was so funny, and it all hit me. I was like, they asked for this. If they had just, you know how many teenage kids are out there making silly memes? If they had just ignored it, it would have just gone away. Nobody would have cared. And now it's like everybody's making these things now. they could ever keep up with all of them because of the...
No, it's a freaking
I
it's a
chat
tsunami.
post and it was great.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Much
And a
love.
lot of them are using the same clip of Trump doing something at a WWF, and it's just freaking, and they're using, it's just freaking awesome. I can't believe CNN they just totally wet their pants on that. It was bad. It was terrible. It's embarrassing the way they reacted to it. All right, guys, I'm going to go to sleep like I usually do at 11. I got to get up in the morning really early. Thank you very much for
Bye. Thanks again. Good night. You take care.
For being here.
Aloha.
Good to see you again, Christian. Bye, Forsaken. And who is caller 1?
I think I might be Kevin.
Probably Kevin.
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, Kevin.
Just sitting here being quiet.
I can hear you really good. Did you get a different microphone or something?
No.
Did I speak too soon? Yeah. Okay. All right, good night, guys.
Good night. Take care. Have a good one.
Good night.
Bye.
Anyways, so anyone have any ideas, maybe?
I will have some.
All right.
Any ideas for what in particular, though?
Who decides what independent news media
aggregate
sources?
things?
No, just my problem is who do we make sure is that we dictate as independent media? If we're creating an independent news media aggregator, who determines that they're independent news?
Shouldn't it be where they get their funding from? Like, if they get it from ordinary people, I don't think it should matter that much if they are tied to an organization in some way, as long as they are getting all their funding from people.
I mean, people can get funding from Patreon and get paid by a network, right? So do we quite call that as independent?
That's a tough one.
No, it's difficult to follow the money anyway.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the bunnies and the carrots. I'll say,
That's for something else, though. But
yeah,
that's the big project.
If you figured out a rating system of some sort, I don't know how to do it so that you're going to end up with. I mean, basically, I think you have to say like, any video from HuffPo isn't, that isn't independent media. CNN, like basically the large establishment corporate media sources are kind of are used only for using clips of them.
That gives me an idea, actually. So like every news snippet, usually there's the title and then there's like three lines and a picture that kind of summarizes that article or maybe the video. I think maybe we allow categorization of people who use it to dictate whether they're truly independent or they're affiliated with a bigger network, or that they are basically corporate news. And so you have a color scheme. So if you're truly independent, you have a white background in your blog. If you're not, you kind of have like maybe a shaded of a like a bluish background, and then if you're truly corporate media, then you have like a red background or something. That way, by looking at the news aggregate, you can see, based on what the headlines are for the day, whether it's coming from a certain type of news medium.
And you could go by subscriber size, something like that. I mean, so that you just go by size, so that small people are still in the mix. That you get a mix of all three, no matter how you figure it out. You always get a mix on the homepage for your page. Like if you determine some things aren't as indie as you want them, you'd still get things from them that they would coincide with other indie things, maybe, or whatever. I don't know. Size, I think like the size of the following and the size of their funding sort of matters, so that to give people that have small shows a shot. You know what I
But
mean?
isn't credibility the most important? How do you rate that?
Yeah, so I think how users determine whether someone is credible, but then that could be a slippery slope. You just have a whole bunch of people, you know, saying, "Hey, this guy we all hate him, so let's just say he's like corporate mainstream news media when they're not, or something."
Yeah.
But it could also be maybe we allow mediums to come in and they can self-describe themselves as being, you know, independent, nonprofit, or corporate, or whatever, and then you have so it's kind of shaded on the left. That's what they dictate themselves. You have a shade on the right, and what the users dictate that they are. Like they might say, "Hey, we're independent media, you know, TYT," and then you've got the user side saying, "Oh no, you're not. You're corporate media," and so you kind of have the color scheme kind of turns reddish. So it's what
you could do that for the political spectrum too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that you could set your own preference range for what you want to see, but it would still give you small things, you know, things from small people that became popular to make sure they got a chance to be seen. Because, you know, I think that having sort of blundered into Tim through Jimmy Dore, through TYT, and up and down through a whole bunch of people, you know, I mean, it takes a while. And sometimes if you just see a clip of somebody you never heard of doing something that you're interested in, you'll watch it just to see what this guy, your person, has to say. You know what I mean? So I think that's worth it too, is to make sure you integrate small media, you know, small subscriber sizes, small media sources that sort of have a popularity, or you know, I mean, I don't know how to, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Jeremy, Scott asked, define independent media. I think I define it more as, you know, your media that what you say is based on what you say, not based on someone else is telling you what you can say or not. So there's no repercussions of saying something and getting fired, or saying something and being laid off or suspended. You know, if you're truly independent, you can say whatever you want, and you're not going to have any repercussions because you're just talking exactly how you're talking. You're not being bullied into saying, "Hey, if you're talking about pedogate, not pedogate, Pizzagate, you know, you're gonna be fired."
Right.
Right.
I always, when I think of independent media, I think of, you know, reporting without bias, you know, just being, you know, more truthful about either side and not having so much of a party loyalty, and, you know, having the ability to just call out bullshit on whichever side you're looking at, whether it's the Democrats, Republicans, anywhere you find it, is just to expose any corruption or any lies or secrets that need to be exposed. And that's really what I think of, for sure. That's what I appreciate about it.
Yeah. All right, we can move on to a different topic. I think we're going to probably cut it. We can go on for maybe 30 more minutes if you guys want. Anything on anyone's mind? Oh,
kind of thing.
Elizabeth Beck got suspended by Twitter for a week.
That's fucking retarded.
For cursing.
Yeah, I heard yesterday I was watching the show last night, and I heard you guys talk about that. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. And so Elizabeth Beck, they had an interview by Playboy, so they're in the Playboy for the DNC fraud lawsuit. Actually, that would probably reach more people than any one of us have.
It's intelligence porn. It's that kinky, steamy education. It really stimulates the brain.
Getting exposed. Woo!
Oh, yeah. All down the dirty details. Ooh. It gets kinky. But it's good that the DNC fraud lawsuit is getting attention, no matter where the fuck it is.
Yeah, that's very true.
So that's where we should get our news from now, Playboy.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
Titties and information.
It's like, huh, what's this going on?
Well, Hustlers broke a couple stories in their day.
That's true. That's true. Yep.
Donna Brazil's Brazilian wax.
Oh dear God.
Oh no.
That whole Russian thing is a hairy situation.
Oh my God.
What? I just had to go there.
Dude,
Hey, if anything goes.
You could start your own channel doing stuff like that.
This is giving our pussy chat from last night a run for its money.
Getting intimate with Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah, I was going to say something about her leathery butt on the beach, and then I thought about it, and like stuff started coming up, and I decided that didn't sound good.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Wow. Her and Chris were hanging out at the beach. What a thought. Yikes.
That's what I think of Debbie Wasserman Schultz when I...
Gives you the hives, you know, the...
What's interesting, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it always seems like when I read about it, like technology, at least mediums in which you get advancements in technology, has usually been spurred on by porn. Is that true? Because
not only is it
I guarantee it's
coins
partly
as
true,
well.
like-
what was that?
Coins as well.
Coins.
Yeah.
How?
Especially the Roman coins.
99 says, Eric, let me borrow your glasses. I'm blind now, thank you.
There you go.
Can you explain that a bit, Snork?
Because of
Glasses for a fight at Soul Moment. Oh my gosh.
All right, Snork.
I don't think I've ever seen Eric without his glasses. Just for a second, there he was.
He's done it a couple of times. All right,
That's
Snork,
so
go ahead.
wild.
because
Oh,
of the
hey!
they constantly went to different countries. There'd be language problems with the soldiers. So the original Roman coins, or not original probably, but the most common ones for a while were for different sex acts. They would give them to the soldiers to give to prostitutes.
Huh. Wow.
Well, I know that that the old astronauts. You watched the right stuff. The astronauts were. That was plenty of big distraction for them boys. You know, sex may not have launched them, but it didn't hurt getting them there.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I'm trying to find a good garden gnome statue, but there's too many weird ones. Like, there's garden gnomes, like, what is this, drinking a beer? And one of them, like, with his ass hanging out, and... This is...
The one.
I just want a classic garden gnome. I don't want to, like... drunken garden gnome.
What was
You
that
could
one?
you get a Star Wars one.
There was this one episode of King of the Hill where Peggy has a garden gnome and Hank is like, he's very embarrassed of it.
Oh, wow.
I got 3 of them outside sitting under plants.
Yeah, I just want, like, the classic garden gnome, you know? Not
got-
anything funky or weird, just, like, cute, cool...
The ones that'll scare people away.
traditional kind of look, you know.
They tend them. You know, that's what they do. They sit in there and they tend
They've
them.
got biker garden gnomes. There you go. Like, what is
I got my garden gnome's got a little like solar light, one of them. So it even has a little light that comes up through the plant at night. So
I want one that's like the like a garden gnome of like South Park of the Underpants gnomes.
Try oh, what in the hell is that damned the geek thing, the geek catalog or geek store online. Oh hell.
You mean this one, Eric?
What?
This garden Or no?
Oh God, no, not one of those. It's still funny though. No, like on South Park, they're the ones that they're the. Oh my God.
That's just wrong. So wrong.
That is one happy garden gnome.
I was talking about the ones on South Park, the ones that steal the underpants of other people, and it has like plan 1.
Oh.
Then plan 2 is like a question mark. Then plan 3 is a profit.
Well, I think this garden gnome had his underpants taken.
That's what I mean. All I can find is crap like that. I found one with a gnome sitting on a toilet.
Well, all I was thinking is if a gnome flashes you, do you look at him and say, like, is that a mushroom in your pants? Are you glad to see me? I don't understand. And some of them gnomes, it could be both.
Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Yeah, there's a bunch.
I never knew that the world of gnomes was so debauched. There's even a statue of a big, like, T-Rex looking dinosaur eating garden gnomes and stomping on them. Somebody really didn't like the gnomes.
That's like dark, but kind of like funny dark.
Yeah, I mean it's like, but I don't want that in my. I have like a little, garden-y outside with all my bird feeders outside. Cool classic gnomes that never be fun.
I would want the South Park underpants gnomes in my garden.
Oh boy. Oh wow, zombie gnome.
Oh yeah, I think there was a lot of zombie gnomes for Halloween.
Oh my word.
It's the candy apocalypse.
I've lost my gnome innocence. There's no.
I saw. Our local store had Rastafarian gnomes.
I just don't even know what to say.
I wonder what's going to be the offensive costume of the year.
I don't know. I heard that when Disney released Moana, which is kind of based in Polynesian and Maori traditions, they had released, their damn merchandising, which is the part of Disney that I truly hate, is their merchandising and all that crap. But they're
very capitalistic.
They released like a bodysuit, because Maui has like the tattoos all over him, and people were pissed about it, so they actually pulled it.
Dude, you know what we should market? Like a hat that has kind of covers your face a little bit, not your eyes, but it's got CNN logo on it, so it's just kind of like the CNN meme.
Trigger!
Triggered! Triggered! I'm being so triggered! I'm triggered!
They just don't know what to do.
Well, I was just looking. Anything goes to Erik is age.
What?
If anything goes with Erik, to do it by letters, it's going to end up being age. Which doesn't AGE. I was trying to figure out what the anything goes headgear would look like, and I'm thinking it's either horns or horns or some sort of ears,
Dear God.
Rasta
What is this?
Why does this show? Why does this show?
Look like naked, armless gnome ladies.
They are.
Wow. I've totally lost my innocence regarding the garden gnome tonight.
I would put that one on a toilet, the Elvis one.
I'm just...
No, I would put that near the toilet. Just to honor Elvis.
I love the comedy routine. The guy says, Hey man, now somebody hanging out with Elvis didn't tell Elvis that he looked kind of funny and skin tight leather jumpsuits with sequins on them and a big old Dracula collar on it. And nobody said, "Hey E, you look kind of goofy today." I mean, no, you know, and then they say, and nobody thought he was on drugs. It's just like, no, I think if you go out of your house looking like some kind of, there was a time, the fat Elvis was where it's at, man. That look was definitely, oh, that was too hip. Nothing like 300 pounds stuffed inside leather to really make you feel like, oh boy, that's sexy. But that motherfucker, people loved him, man. He could sing.
I felt bad for him in a lot of ways.
In Iowa, putting that much meat in something tight, it's called a sausage.
Yeah, it isn't clothes, it's casings.
It was a funny story that Tom Jones was telling on Conan the last time he was on about an encounter he had with Elvis, and how he had to get his bodyguard Red to help lift up his pants because he literally could not lift up those tight leather pants that he had.
Yeah.
If you Google it, if you YouTube search it, you'll show up. It's funny as hell. It's just a funny story.
I'm picturing guys with come-alongs going like this, trying to get the zipper closed.
Suck it in, suck it in.
Breathe in, E, breathe in. Last button, buddy.
Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom there first.
Oh, why didn't you tell us before we started? E, we've told you this before.
Wow.
Now, here's your sunglasses that even Elton John thinks is too gaudy. You put these on. That'll cover up your eyes.
Good one, man.
And you know, I mean, Carpenter, you know that Elvis was a favorite Capricorn, you know.
Oh, of course he was. Of course he was.
Did it big, man. It's I do though. I always thought it was just a kind of tragic life, you know.
I mean, but I just imagining life with the king, just sort of living like for a week. It's, I mean, you know, you go to Hunter S. Thompson's house for something mellow to happen afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
South Park had an episode with Elvis in it, but he was a ghost, and it was like really funny.
Right. Yeah.
It took,
and it was in Hawaii.
It was in Hawaii. Yeah.
I think on Netflix they have Elvis and Nixon, I think is the name of the movie.
Oh yeah, it's a new movie that came out. Yeah, they had Michael Shannon was playing Elvis, and they had Kevin Spacey playing Nixon.
Weird. They were both Capricorns, you know.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Are you a Capricorn as well, Ariel?
I am. And so
and you too, right, Broken?
Yeah.
Well, which month though? December or January?
Well,
December.
He's December 27th.
I'm right on the cusp. In fact, my mom went in labor for 48 hours to have me. So yeah, born over the cusp.
Yeah, so you're the first day and I'm the last day. I'm January 19th. So the sun is at 29 degrees of Capricorn in my chart, whereas with Capricorn it would be like 0, would be the first degree of Capricorn.
Yeah. I'm a Capricorn as well, is why I'm asking. Yeah, I was born on the 14th of January.
Dang, yeah, you're right in there.
Yeah, 20 minutes from being on the same day as MLK Jr.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be born on the 15th. I ended up on the 19th, the same day as Janis Joplin, Dolly Parton, Edgar Allan Poe, and A lot of crazy freaks.
South Park had an episode of Edgar Allan Poe, and it was the Goth Kids episode, and it was great.
Oh, that's awesome.
But speaking of South Park, sorry, what were you going to say?
I love Capricorn. I think it's a great sign. A lot, like, it was funny. Kath Casey last night was saying, she's like, I'm a Capricorn and I'm boring. And I'm like, no, you're not. I think that's an awesome sign. Capricorn ages better than any sign. Taurus is second. Taurus is second. They're the two signs that really tend to age really well. Capricorns tend to reverse age. We're younger when we're older and older when we're younger. So when we're little kids, we're a lot more serious. I think I looked older as a teenager than I do now. Now that I'm 40, everyone thinks I'm 25. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm not. So it's like I'm going to be respected because I'm never going to look old enough.
Yeah, with Benjamin Button age is what you're saying.
Yes, it is like that. It is like that. Like we actually lighten up, especially mentally. We don't, you know, we're really heavy the younger we are. And that Saturn stuff is really true because Saturn is our ruling planet. So it takes about 27 and a half to 28 years to go one full rotation through a chart. So that whole saying about life begins at 30 is actually kind of true for everyone because that's universal, no matter what sign you are. Saturn takes almost 30 years to go through your chart one full time. So once you get there, it kind of lightens up. It's like you kind of cross this threshold of like things feeling very, very heavy in your life. But Capricorns in general, we're the last oldest earth sign. So it's the mastery of the material realm. And we do have this almost, it's like people think we're assholes because we kind of have this attitude of like, if it's not useful, get it out of my way. And that applies to people. If people don't have a use or a purpose or they're stupid or in the way, we're like, get them out of my way. Because we're kind of loners and we tend to be solitary. We're not really joiners. Where it's like we're doing our own thing and we're going to climb that damn mountain. And it's like lead, follow, or get out of the way. It's like we have a date with destiny and we're not going to be late for it. So either help me out or get behind me. You know?
Well, I mean, as a Capricorn, I haven't got older. The world's just got younger.
Yeah.
Do you usually ask for people's signs or do you try to guess?
Sometimes I can guess like immediately. It's crazy sometimes. And I find that sometimes if I can't guess a sign right away, they're often a Libra. I don't know why that is.
So do you know everybody's sign here? Like the fly, Snork?
Gemini dragon. I'm a Capricorn dragon. Carpenter is a Capricorn dragon.
Gemini dragon.
Yeah. So we got 3 dragons in here. At least.
Trigger dragon.
Super triggered, isn't it? I mean, dragon is super triggered. It can be.
Elvis has me the most triggered of anything.
He had a weird chart. It's actually pretty cool. I've actually done his chart for a class, for one of my Capricorn classes. I'll often pull out famous charts of people. And without telling my students who it is, I'll draw all the parts of the chart on a whiteboard and have them try to guess who it is based on the essential parts of personality. It's actually pretty cool because people usually do guess it, unless it's something really obscure. And I know the fly said he's a Libra with an Aries moon. And that's an opposition because Libra and Aries sit on the opposite. It's like Capricorn and Cancer. Cancer's our opposite sign. So whenever you have a sun moon that are opposite each other, there's a lot of a balancing act because your head's going, well, I want that, but the heart's going, but I want that. It's pulling two different ways. I'm a Capricorn sun and moon. They sit right next to each other in my chart, which means the moon was new when I was born. So it was a dark, moon when I was born.
Yeah.
And, in Chinese astrology, it's all lunar based. So the phase of the moon actually has purpose and meaning for them, especially. And you can tell, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's just kind of fascinating stuff.
It is.
Christian, what's your year? Do you know your Chinese sign?
Rooster.
Oh, that's a great combination.
Yeah.
Fabulous combination. I had a really good buddy in my old Aikido class who was a Capricorn rooster. Good looking guy. Boy, Capricorn rooster men, it's like they're professional. They got it together. They're good looking guys. I guarantee for you.
The fly.
Have a good one. You take care, Snork.
Bye. I'm sorry, man.
Bye.
Goodbye, Snork.
Night, Snork.
Rooster energy is aligned with Virgo, right? You know, so there's a lot of similarities. It's an earthiness.
Right.
You like to be organized and you like to be on time, and it's like you've got your quirks, you know. It's like your little particular things that you like, and it's hard to knock you off of those. Anybody that's with you's got to kind of put up with some weird little, you know, I like this, I don't like that, you know, little critiques, little nitpick. But roosters make really good bankers, account managers, because they can see the imperfections. They can see where something's out of balance or not right. They're good at creating order out of chaos. It's like if things are a mess, you need a chicken.
So what do wood dragons do?
I'm engaged to a chicken, so I know.
Yeah, you're rooster.
My dragon, I'm all over the place being a dragon. No, he's the rooster. Yeah, I call him the chicken. He doesn't mind.
He's the rooster.
He is the rooster. He went to the chicken school. He went to South Carolina, and their mascot is the gamecock. It's like a fighting rooster. They have a real rooster that they bring to the games, and he sits there eating birdseed, and he's really cute and funny.
Oh my God. I mean, that's almost as bad as having a goat for your mascot. I mean, can you imagine cheering on a team that named the Goats? Like, literally, go get them, Goats!
At Carolina, it's actually one of the oldest schools in the country. It's very old, and parts of the school were even used as a hospital during the Civil War. It's an old campus.
Right.
And so, but they get into it. When they score a touchdown at the stadium, there's a rooster crow. They play it over the loudspeaker, so you hear this. You know, it's like I mean, it's awesome. The chicken school. Sorry, Bruins. He's like, engaged. How dispiriting. I'm like, me and my chicken have been together a long time.
He's the cock of the walk.
Yeah. Yeah, they got that strut. They do. There's a little bit of that. Hey.
Hey, they're the rooster, man. Rooster gets all the good hens. It's just the way they are.
Well, that chicken, they like to crow, but it's funny. Yeah, dragon people, because I know we got 3 dragons in here. The reason though that roosters are similar, they're very organized and their critique is because it's Virgo energy. If you were going to relate it to Western sign, it would be Virgo. So you would probably you'd find affinity with that personality. You know, you'd say, yeah, there's some similarities there. Dragon people, Erik just vanished, our other little dragon. Troxney, I'm trying to remember what your birthday is.
Yeah. Well,
you told us one night what your birthday is. Are you Pisces?
Yeah, and Sagittarius, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, is it Pisces with Sag moon or Sag rising?
Sagittarius or whatever. I'm not sure how it's spelled.
What's your day?
1st of March.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're a Pisces. You've got the Pisces eyes. Very dreamy kind of, magical sort of eyes. That's Pisces. You can always tell in the eyes. They have that dreamy, almost like oceanic quality. They're very, very spiritual, very creative.
But I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
No spirituality.
Interesting. So I'd really like to see, the rest of your chart, because often Pisces is the sign that is most influenced by the rest of its chart.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I knew I've had no spirituality even at a young age. I was like, I was born in a religious family.
Oh, yeah.
At least my parents, and it never stuck to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that could kind of maybe mess the experience up for you a little bit too. Make you swim the other way. I mean, I have a lot of Pisces in my chart because my Venus is in Pisces, and I've got 3 signs in my Pisces house. So that actually it gives me a lot of fishiness. My progressed sun sign is also in Pisces for the next 20 years, so I'm really in that thing. But I am very creative. That's like my whole life is creativity and mystical things. And But the Capricorn side of me is very practical, so it's a real balance. I like that I have that, because otherwise I would just be like wearing a muumuu and banging a tambourine all day, you know. Like, you know, the Capricorn keeps you grounded, because Capricorns are true skeptics. They really don't like to take anything right at face value. It's like, well, let me study this, let me check it out. You know, we have a good bullshit filter. It's like if somebody's trying to sell us on something, we're real suspicious, like, you know, we're really bad. One of my favorite wheels to kind of describe what's in each house. Get it up there. So as you can see, each one, you know, there's your Gemini there, Erik, ruled by Mercury. It's an air sign, and it's the third sign, so it's the third house in the chart. Mind, mental attitude, communication, education, and speech. This is what Gemini house is all about.
Wow.
Yeah. Pisces is also about, you know, transcending suffering. That's for sure. They can go through super depression, self-transcendence, all kinds of stuff, and they can tend to you know, addictions easily too. Thank God I've never experienced that part of Pisces. I've never been prone to addictions. I think my goat side keeps me grounded enough.
Really?
Yeah. But Pisces is the sign that is most influenced by the rest of the chart. So Troxy, if you have a lot of things in air signs or earth signs, you're going to be a lot less like a typical Pisces. It colors that sign, because it's like water. It's like putting a drop of food coloring in the water. It's going to really color it easily. The other thing about Pisces is they're really malleable. So it's like they reserve the right to change their mind when they want to. You can't pin them down. They will. They're elusive. It's like the fish. As soon as they feel like something's getting threatening or near, they're out of there. They're not crazy about like big angry confrontations. But they are compassionate, and they are caring, and they really will go the distance for someone they love. Oh my goodness. Nothing like a Pisces in love. If you've ever been bit by the love bug, Troxny, you know that. And if you haven't yet, just wait. Kelly!
Hey, Kelly, how's it going?
Talking about astrology, Kelly.
Hi. I actually sat down about, I don't know, 3 hours ago to come on, and I fell asleep. And I woke back up, and I'm like, surely they're not still on, but I went to YouTube, and there was Ariel.
See, Kelly is like me. She's got Pisces and Venus in her first house. So we really like jive. And she's also got a Capricorn moon like me.
Yeah, I don't know. My grandma used to say that was the good sign that kept me, I don't know, stable or something like that.
A Capricorn moon is hard. It's one of the signs there is. It really truly is. It's one of the toughest moon signs because it's in the opposite of Cancer, where it would be happiest. A Capricorn moon tends to loneliness, depression. It can be very tough. It gives you that blue mood a lot of the time, even if you don't have a real reason for it. It's like, I just feel down. Or you can be in a crowd and feel alone, you know, that kind of thing. But the good things about a Capricorn moon is extremely ambitious, very hardworking, will go the distance and beyond for someone they care about. It's extremely loyal. I've learned to work with my Capricorn moon. It makes me very self-sufficient. So I'm not, you know, I don't hate it. It's like, and it helps because my Capricorn sun is right next to it. So that makes it a little better. I got some support from other parts of my chart, like Jupiter and Taurus supports my sun and my moon. If it didn't do that, it would be harder. It definitely would be. My old astrology teacher, Lynn, used to say, if you meet somebody with a Capricorn moon, just give them a big old hug because they need it. You know, they just need it. You know, they need that caring. They need the reassurance. They need to know that they're doing a good job because they can be very hard on themselves. We can be. Oh, yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy being a goat.
So how long have you guys been on tonight already? Since has it been since 10:30?
I think so, yeah.
What time
Eric?
Yeah, around that time.
Oh my gosh.
About 11:30 or something.
So I can take a 3-hour nap and come back on. Okay.
How are you feeling, Kelly? Are you?
I'm okay. you know, the headaches have been more frequent lately, so I'll just kind of conk out. Like, I don't even mean to. I was like, had a coffee here and ready to go, and next thing I know, anyway, I just get tired. But did any of you guys, was Stevie on earlier?
She was.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys see? I don't know. I had taken a couple pictures and tweeted around. And did you see that, Broken?
Oh, I don't know.
My picture in a bong shop here in Asheville. I took a picture of it. Yeah, there you go. It was a big wall of them. And Stevie responded with such pretty vases. Anyway, that's Asheville for you. Anything goes.
Oh yeah, it's like a little Portland, Oregon. You know, it really is. It's a similar vibe.
It's sad though. There are a lot. I mean, there's literally a guy walked by and had a little sign and it said, "Selfie with a bum." Like he was offering for tourists to take a picture with him. I mean, it's really bad. So there's that side of Asheville now that was not. I moved here in '96.
Interesting, because
it wasn't
earlier. I was talking earlier about how much homelessness there is in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, I guess it's about the same then. I mean, I don't know. It's bad, and you know, people need to. There's so much. I think I said this last night. It's service industry. You know, it's all fancy restaurants and all that. Yeah. And you know, all those waiters and waitresses, like I used to do when I was first here, need a place to live. You know, and it's the rent and real estate is just crazy.
Wow. Yeah. My rooster, his dad used to live in Asheville, so we actually went to visit him.
Okay.
At one point, and I mean, it's like, yeah, I totally get it. There was a part of it that I really didn't like because it just felt like that hipstery, like this is the cool place to be in a lot of the areas. You know what I mean? It's that, and you just know that people are really moneyed. Like it's like they're trying to be all down to earth, but they're like really loaded.
Well, what I found a lot here is that the way the social stratification works in the city is a lot of the people with money are the Trump people. Okay, so you've got a lot of retirees that have moved here from who knows where else. But there's a guy that used to cut my hair, and he said, "Oh yeah, they're all for Trump."
Wow.
All the rich people in Asheville. So you have a lot of you know, there's a lot of Bernie support here, and a lot more people went for the Green Party instead of falling in line for Hillary like they do in Chapel Hill. But I would say the people, the liberal people here are a lot of the people with no power. I hate to say that, but
yeah, well,
that really bothered me.
Often the way it is.
Yeah, so we lived here a long time, and then we moved to Chapel Hill area for Cisco for work, and then we came back for a year, but we couldn't have stayed because, you know, working remotely, you're on the chopping block. So anyway,
yeah,
it was a little experiment.
I was gonna point out too, Christian, I often think of the rooster and the Chinese wheel as being the phoenix, because, you know, it's like the dragon is the only like actual mythological creature in the Chinese wheel. But because they have such a thing about the phoenix, I often think of the rooster as being like a kind of a phoenix. And there actually are roosters that have like those big, long, fancy tails that are just really kind of magical and colorful looking. So it's a cool thing about the bird.
That's funny you mentioned that, because on my phone, my wallpaper is a phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's truly what you say about, you know, the Chinese having this thing about the phoenix, because I think
they had that pearl. Remember the story where the phoenix and the dragon have that pearl, and the gods came down and took it from them.
Yes.
And so they basically go up to the heavens and just cause a big ruckus to get it back. And so the gods get so angry at them, they throw the pearl, and the phoenix and the dragon, they dove to get it. And so that's what they say is those mountain ranges are where the dragon and the phoenix came to rest with the pearl. It's just, it's cool. It's really cool.
Well, I married a goat dog.
Wow.
Oh, dog. Okay.
Dog is like Libra energy, so
I don't know. She's tough as nails. I know that.
yeah. Like a policewoman. I mean, there's a lot of lawyers and police people and military people that are dogs. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm sure you guys have already covered this, but I just have to ask, Eric, how many CNN little gift things did you make?
About 13, 14 of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I looked earlier at dinner time, and we were out to dinner. I couldn't help it. I was trying to put the phone down, you know, and not look at stuff.
It was making me laugh so much, Kelly.
What?
It was making me laugh so much last night, all those triggered gifts. Eric was
oh my God. Well,
I went overboard, so I'll admit it. I went overboard, but I was cool with it.
No, it was great, Eric. You don't always say a lot, but
he does. He really does.
The number of you know, posts that say CNN, the hashtag CNN blackmail, it's amazing. Quite a bit. Exploding.
Fired on him. It's cool.
Well, Eric's like starting up an old car, you know. It's like once you get them started, they make a lot of racket, you know. That's why I love Eric. I mean, he's just like, yeah, there is this something that every once in a while he gets triggered, and it's just like, right on. I never get to hear enough from Eric until he sort of just goes off like, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I dig it. I really dig it.
I'm trying to see you.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
You know, this is your year, Christian. This is the rooster year.
What does your shirt say that you're holding up?
Chinese
the Phoenix.
is the year.
Oh, okay. It's just hard to see. It's dark.
Yeah, no, it's dark. I'm sorry, guys, about
That's
this.
okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that's been the big story today, right? Really, the CNN thing. Any other major stuff? You guys, I know that's hours ago.
Well, I mean, like one noteworthy thing across the pond is that there are people looking to prosecute Tony Blair for war crimes, which is, I think,
right on.
Yeah, thank God. Right?
Right on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang.
I saw it on RT. I commented on the video like they should prosecute Bush and Obama and Cheney. You know?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
So, do you speak?
Wait, where is it? Where is it? There it is. I knew I could get it up there.
Oh. Put horns on the dog.
Oh, he's cute guy.
Oh yeah, Broken. My husband, he wants to get you one of the really long pipes. It's like a Dumbledore pipe that we saw in one of the shops. Oh, you have that already?
Was that the goat dog you married?
Yes, I saw your comment, Troxany. That's why I held up my goat dog.
Okay, we've gone into bestiality here, guys. I don't know.
It's a weird day.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a.
There you go. That's awesome.
Hey, it's the best when we go out somewhere and I call my guy the chicken, and people are like, huh? Chicken? Where are you? They have no idea. It's hilarious just to see the confused looks. And because I'm a dragon, a lot of times he'll call me the lizard. He'll say, hey, lizard, come on over.
Oh, God.
It's a blast. It is. It's fun. And Kelly, you are the ox. The solid, stable, sensible one.
Wait, what is this?
Aren't you the ox? No, not the ox. The boar. That's the other one. I was going to say, it's one of those solid.
I don't know. Chinese signs or something?
Yeah, you're a metal boar. Sounds like a rock band. Metal boar!
Metal boar, yeah.
The pig. Pig, the boar, is similar to Scorpio. I love pig people. They're the best. They're one of the best, in my opinions.
I don't know much. Like I said, my grandmother, my grandmother and her mother and her aunt were kind of into some weird stuff. Not to say, but for their time, you know, like they're old. I have them now. Old books on yoga and stuff that back then, I mean, that was for them where they lived. That was just considered really, I don't know.
Out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so they were kind of into some interesting stuff. So. Well,
that old backwoods bar I used to drink in, it was a hotel. And one day the one of the owners says, you know, if a bird got in and died, you know, can you come up and get it? And I said, sure, you know, and I came up and got it. And she says, you want to see the devil room? And you go down on like half of an entire floor is this like little auditorium with a stage and a big yellow devil on the wall, like a really crude devil. And it used to be where they held black mass, man.
Oh my word!
Yeah, I mean, it's just man. That place had a whole witchy vibe to it, you know.
Wow. Being a goat, I'd get nervous. I'd be like, I don't know about this.
Well, yeah. You know, I mean, I ain't like superstitious, but I ain't against. You know, I figure some stuff you don't really go out of your way to try to find out much about because,
yeah,
you know, I mean, I come from an area where there's probably folks still do it. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I was the same way. Yeah, I'm not exactly superstitious, but I wouldn't want to tempt fate either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, whistle past the graveyard, that kind of stuff, you know. And
so, hey, someone, did you speak?
Who, what?
I speak a little bit.
Okay.
How are you, Kelly?
The fly is talking some.
How's your back?
Okay. I've been seeing you on twice now, but haven't heard you talk. Just wondering.
How's your back?
I made him a special fly sign.
Oh.
yeah, I mean, the fly let out like whole sentences here a little while ago, so you missed it.
Oh, okay.
Not just the regular buzzing either, just like real thing.
So are you, I mean, I can understand. Do you want to be anonymous, you know, like work and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
I see. Yeah, sometimes I think I've gone from like, I hated Facebook. Well, I still hate Facebook. That's kind of different reasons, but I used to be such a privacy nut. Now I'm like, I'm sitting here talking on YouTube, but it's all gone out the window. I'm like, whatever. I figure, you know, that if somebody really wants to know your business these days, somebody can find stuff out. So I don't know.
Yeah, I figure if they want to know my business, they know my business.
Right. And if anybody wants to sit through 4 hours of us talking.
Yeah.
To find out I married a goat dog, yeah, I think that's
Those dang goat dogs.
Hi, Ebon.
Hi,
I
Kelly.
took like a 3-hour nap and woke up. And they were still on. So.
I'm married.
So, Broken Carpenter, which part of the goat dog do you like most? Like the goat part or the dog part?
I'll tell you what, it's the Irish part. You know about Irish dinners, right? It's hot tongue and cold shoulder. That's an Irish dinner.
Right.
The end with the teeth ain't much fun. Let's put it that way.
That's like the golden rule. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, man, my wife, she's a sweetie. I just, I also know she can beat the hell out of me in my sleep if she decided to, so I know that too.
It's funny, that Carpenter in Chinese astrology, the dog and the dragon are on the opposite end of the wheel. So it's often, you're not supposed to get along with your opposite sign. But it's funny because I have a lot of friends, especially women that are dogs, and we get along great. And I think that there are always similarities.
Those bitches.
Yeah, I used Myra in my keto class, and she was a Scorpio dog, and she's like, "You love me, Earl, because I'm a bitch." And He's like, don't mess with the bitch. And but yeah, no, there's something about and Ebon, you might relate a little to it because the dog is like Libra. It corresponds to Libra in the Western wheel, and so it's actually I mean, I really value dogs because they're very loyal. They're great friends. They're always there for you in a pinch, and they'll fight for you. That's the thing, you know. They won't. Libra is a peaceful sign, but I always say that it's like, it reminds me of Lady Justice, right? It's like she's holding the scales of justice and peace, but she's also got a sword.
Mm-hmm.
The Libras have a real balance. They're not always peaceful. They will fight. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people just think they're just peace and happiness, but they're fighters in there too. They have to be. And yeah, so my dog people, I do like them because of that. The reason that the dragon and the dog will butt heads is because the dragon is like big ideas, and we always tip the scales just a little more for ourselves. I always joke, it's like 2 for you, 3 for dragon. 2 for you, 3 for dragon, you know. And the dog really likes to keep everything very balanced, and so it's like they won't always let the dragon get away with that sort of behavior.
Well,
I want to be a balanced dragon now.
I guess I'm a wood dragon, so like I always set myself on fire every time I try to breathe fire anyhow. You know, I'm better off just chewing on something.
Like a goat. That's a Capricorn. We'll just eat the tin cans and the garbage and whatever life throws at us, and we just keep on trucking. That's Capricorn. We can digest all the bad stuff and the negatives of life.
Well, you don't want to get hardware poisoning. You don't want them in the. I was religious about picking up nails, man, because they get them in, and then you got to give them the magnet. You jam like a hunk of magnet about this big into the throat, and they swallow
You
it.
do know I'm metaphorically talking about eating the can.
Yeah, I just I don't want people thinking it's good to have their goats eating cans because it's. Like I say, I love my goats, man.
Goats are great. They're funny. They're really funny creatures.
Oh, kidding time was the best. All the little kids running around in the pasture, and we had stumps all over the pasture where they had cut the wood off of it.
Oh yeah.
And so the goats had cleared all the blackberries out of there, which was like a gigantic job for anybody else, you know. The goats just chewed right through that. But so all the little stumps are there, and all the little kids, they would play like King of the Hill. So one would come galloping up and jump up on top on one side, and one would fall off the other side. Another one would come and jump over the other side. One would fall off this side. It was like there was only so much room for them all to stand, and somebody always gave in. It was like musical chairs, but they were cute. They'd fight and stuff. They'd have their little headbutt, and then my wife left me like to birth me and her mother-in-law. Like,
wow.
I didn't take the goat birthing class before this all started. So, like, my wife splits, and like, I know there's 2 things you got to do. You got to make sure that they birth okay, and then you got to make sure they stand up and they nurse, and then they're good to go. You know, in the warm pen. And so we had Mindy and Rita. They were identical sisters, and Mindy and Rita both were great goats because they always had like twins or triplets. And so I'm in there and with one of them, and she's having triplets. And then we go out. We're thinking, well, her and Mindy were like the same time. We better go out and check on her. She's out, and we had a lean-to in the pasture. And she's out there in there, so all by herself. She had done it all by herself, and there's 2 more kids sitting there. So we had 5 kids in one day. And that, you know, like I say, when we moved, it was like we had, well, by the time our peak was like 50 goats.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a trip. Man. Lots of goats. It's a fun.
The thing that's great about like chickens and goats is it's a high protein payoff, and you don't have to kill the animal. You can get eggs and milk, you make cheese or yogurt or whatever, and you know, without having to kill the animal. But of course, if you need the meat, you can. But it's not like having a pig, where the only way you can really have the protein is to actually kill the pig. You know, there's nothing else you can do.
I've heard that goat milk is healthier than cow.
Way.
Oh, it makes great. What is that? Feta, like soft
Yes,
cheese.
yes.
Feta cheese.
Oh, goat.
Yum.
My wife used to make goat feta with
Oh.
garlic in it. Oh man, that you could just sit and
Yeah.
dip chips into it. It was great stuff.
Wow.
There was a local goat farm in Oregon. We used to get cheese from that place, and I mean, it's like addictive. You could just like gorge on that. It's so delicious.
Yeah, I mean it's actually, yeah, and fresh goat milk is like really great to drink. It tastes good. And,
It's not. It's lower in fats than cow milk, much lower, and it doesn't tend to make people as anemic. Cow milk is really,
Well,
anyone's prone to anemia. It's really bad for that.
goat milk, you can nurse any mammal on goat milk.
Wow.
One thing I never understood about, cow's milk as a mom, been through this my kids, I thought you weren't supposed to have cow's milk, but a lot of formula, I think like the first year or something like that, but then a lot of like baby formulas will have proteins from milk, from cow's milk, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of times they will, like whey and things like that will be in that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Goats rock.
Yeah, I really admire anybody that can do that, have a farm and really, it takes so much work and patience, We live in the burbs and my husband works in IT, and sometimes I feel very disconnected from nature. We try to get our vegetables and stuff from the local co-op. We'd like to have a small garden, but it's a lot of work to do all that stuff,
I'd like to have chickens, but our local, they have an ordinance against them. I'd love to have chickens.
Yeah, see, me and the rooster, we would really like to have some chickens and goats in like a little garden, maybe a little greenhouse in the back. But this neighborhood, they wouldn't let you have animals. They'd probably be okay with the greenhouse or the veggies, but I doubt they would be cool with a chicken house or things like that.
Well, rooster, that would be...
I wouldn't have a rooster. I would just have hens. That rooster be waking you like, shut up, bird!
We used to live out in the country outside of Chapel Hill for about 9 years, which I hated, actually, because it was just in the car all the time. But people would have chickens or guinea hens to eat the ticks. I think you guys have gotten on the conversation before when I wasn't here. I saw it in the chat anyway about ticks. This Chatham County was like the worst for ticks. The CDC was using it as they were sending people to do the drag thing for the ticks. But anyway, a lot of our neighbors would have guinea hens or whatever to try to get to, knock down the population of ticks. Because
is Lyme disease transferable to them?
To the guinea hens?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know either. I know they'll eat ticks. They'll eat slugs. That's the other nice thing about guinea hens. Guinea hens.
But we have other. There's Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and then there was something I think called Starry. It was from Lone Star tick. It's really bad, really, really, really bad. One time Michael went out to do yard work, and he had 32 ticks on him. So, and the people, our neighbors, everybody was always getting sick, but it was difficult to diagnose because for a long time they would say, oh, there's no southern Lyme disease. There's no Lyme disease down here. Well, as he said, did the deer just say, oh, here's the Mason-Dixon line? Okay, yeah, we're not going to... the Lyme carrying deer aren't going to cross. It was just a stupid thing. So obviously people were getting sick, but they couldn't really pinpoint what it was. So anyway, I don't know what it is, whether it's southern Lyme, whether it's something else called starry.
It's funny. The two people that I know of that have had, gotten Lyme disease one was in Wisconsin, one was in West Virginia. So there you go. I don't know. I've never heard of anyone having it down here. But it's interesting about like the hens and stuff, because a lot of times other creatures will have immunities that humans don't.
Right.
So it doesn't affect them the same. Yeah.
We'd have ticks all over us when I was a kid. Ticks, and our swimming hole had slugs in it, or not slugs, leeches. That always makes me laugh when they show leeches on somebody like it's some big, scary deal. I mean, we used to just get out and light a cigarette, tap them with a cigarette, and all the leeches would fall off. It wasn't like in the movies where they leeches are on me. I mean, man, get out and 8-10 of them things on you. You just
yeah. I think ticks are by far the worst. When I hear my relatives up north now complaining about whether it's black flies or the gnats or whatever, I'm like, you have no idea. At least those bite you and keep on going. I mean, you get ticks attached on you. I mean, ugh, it's horrible.
I've never had a fly bite me, thank goodness.
Yeah, they have.
I must have friendly flies.
Yeah, deer flies and horse flies. Yeah, both.
Yeah, but at least they're not disease carrying. I mean,
mosquitoes are the worst. I hate the mosquitoes. They eat me alive.
Fucking, I hate mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah, you're in Florida.
I hate those little motherfuckers.
Ticks. I mean, growing up in the South, ticks are just kind of part of life. But we didn't really have a lot of issues with them because we would always just, run our fingers through our hair, run a comb through our hair before we go inside, and you could usually figure out if there was one on you or not. Of course, Kelly, I don't know if you heard my story about my mom setting that tick on fire.
Yeah, I heard that one.
And accidentally setting the dog's fur on fire on her back.
That's kind of funny.
That's a true Southern story. That could only happen in the South. It's like the tick was on the dog, and so she kept pouring the alcohol and kept trying to get the tick to let go, and it wouldn't let go, and she lost track of how much alcohol she was pouring, so she let him have.
Now, the thing with the ticks, if you look up Chatham County and CDC, you'll see it's a big spot. But global, climate change, global warming. I mean, it's all made it all worse. I think everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's something we have to face. As those little, it doesn't get cold enough in the winter to kill them off or whatever.
It's part of getting further and further away from nature. I mean, when Dutch settlers first started pushing down into the continent of Africa, into the interior, and they would see the native African people just hanging out, no problem. They didn't have any trouble with malaria, with mosquitoes. They had figured out how to live so that the mosquitoes were not a problem. They were very in touch with nature, so it was like they knew how you did it and how you stayed away from all that. But as soon as things started getting disrupted, as soon as the natural order started getting thrown off, forget it. And the Dutch people were down there and literally across the river, watching African people have no problem and just hanging out. And the Dutch were getting eaten alive by mosquitoes and, tons of malaria and all that because they had no idea what they were doing. They were clueless, on how to deal with the stuff down there. So I really do believe that it's sort of like the further away you get from nature, the more a problem those issues become. And when you're connected with nature and you understand, it's almost like an innate knowing, that supersedes just intellect or cleverness. Mm-hmm. It's the way animals live, it's like you adapt and you understand what works and what doesn't. And so, it's getting further away from nature creates more problems. That's always what you can link it back to. That's why we have an overabundance of some things and an underabundance of others. It's because we've really ripped ourselves away from anything that's truly for real and natural.
Yeah, we're intrinsically linked to nature,
Mm-hmm.
whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But I think I did see in the chat at one point. I don't know if it was Jenny. I can't remember. A couple of people discussing the Lyme disease issue. It's pretty controversial, actually.
It is. Yeah.
because there aren't a lot of tests, I guess, to really clearly say one way or another on a lot of them, and a lot of people say they had issues, but the tests were negative, or anyway, it's a big topic. We could do a whole thing on that. But
I think on that end, it's getting pretty late. We could start up again tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good
Bye,
one.
everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Rigard.
Good night.
Rigard.
See you tomorrow.